Chapter 319. After Fong Qingshan scared away the ascetic Duda and the others, he looked at the call again. At first, he saw a red light rising, shining like a searchlight in a mine. At the same time, there was a five-colored smoke rising. This was the poisonous fog of Wenju. If an ordinary person breathed in a little, they would turn into a puddle of pus in no time without treatment. Originally, there were also some in the kernel. The clouds were rosy, and layers of colorful silk enveloped the area. The five colors were ever-changing and magnificent. But a few days ago, Fong Qingshan had absorbed all of it while practicing the five-cloud peach flower miasma. Besides the red light and the poisonous fog, two green stars soon flew out. For a moment, the clouds were deep and the fog was swirling. Two dragons flew together, and the red and green shadows were beautiful. This strange phenomenon lasted for a while, until the sun was high in the sky. This was the time of the day when the yang qi was the strongest, and also the time of Wenju's birth. In the call, there was black gas coming out from the bones. Sometimes there was a five-colored smoke, and there was a loud gurgling sound. Red and green sparks appeared one after another, and they were even more brilliant. Through the five-colored poisonous fog, a monster could be seen coming out of the soil. It was faintly discernible in the smoke. It was green all over, with a sharp head and a sharp mouth. Its cheeks were wide and densely scaled, and its body was like a toad. There were two rows of short legs under its abdomen, shaped like bird claws. The two front claws were 3 feet long, black as paint, and the ends were shaped like crab pincers. The middle section was lined with foot-long barbs, shaped like flower petals. It was this thing that was glowing green. Only the two back claws were left, and half of them were not out of the ground. The half near the body was almost the same as the front claws, except that they were white. At this moment, the cloudless sky with a crane in the clear sky suddenly showed signs of rain. The wind was strong, and sand and stones were flying. Black clouds pressed down on the city, as fast as a galloping horse. Black and white alternated, and day and night changed. Lightning flashed, and thunder roared, and golden snakes scuttled. With a clap of thunder, the void shook. Even the thick, poisonous fog in the call turned into strands of colorful silk and dispersed with the wind. Seeing this, Fong Qingshan immediately knew that this was the arrival of Wenju's heaven's tribulation. If it could successfully survive the lightning tribulation and transform its inner core into the heaven essence fire spirit pearl, it would probably become the most ferocious creature in Shu Mountain after cultivating for a few hundred more years. Unfortunately, the more extraordinary one's natural talent, and the more formidable one was, the more dangerous the tribulation one faced would naturally be. Apart from natural disasters, there were also man-made disasters. The natural disaster was naturally the current lightning tribulation, and regardless of whether it was Fong Qingshan or the Laughing Monk, they were all man-made disasters. Let's not talk about the man-made disaster first. As soon as the natural disaster arrived, a red star shot up from the top of the mantra spider's head, about 3 feet above the ground. It stopped in the air and kept rolling. This object was crimson red like a fireball. It was shaped like a ball of fire and was about the size of a fist. The radiance was condensed and didn't dissipate, but the color was not pure. There were even 5 colors and dark colors mixed within. This object was the inner core of one spider's 1,000 years of cultivation. If he wanted to turn it into the heaven essence fire spirit pearl, he would have to undergo the thunder tribulation to erase all the poison and bad luck in the inner core, leaving only the pure yang fire qi. Before the mantra spider was completely unearthed, he needed to hang the inner Dan within 30 feet of his head as a guiding light to illuminate the emergence of the mantra pearl. When the whole body was unearthed, it would merge with the flesh body. With the appearance of the inner Dan, Wenju's head seemed to be stuck with a lightning rod. Rumble. The lightning was like rain hitting a banana leaf, striking down on the inner Dan of Wenju. It was endless and deafening. Wenju's inner Dan was indeed the result of his 1,000 years of cultivation. Although it was struck by the lightning and sparks flew, the more it struck, the brighter it became. The more it struck, the more condensed its power became. At the same time, thousands of five-colored poisonous gas appeared around the mantra spider, like Fong Qingshan's five-cloud peach blossom miasma, protecting him. Others would not be able to avoid this poisonous fog of foul saliva. But Fong Qingshan's eyes lit up. His original goal was only to obtain the fire attribute treasure, the heaven essence fire spirit pearl. He didn't expect to obtain the Tai essence, cultivate Shangfengzi, and obtain a source of luck. Now, if he could refine the poisonous gas of Wenju into the five-cloud peach blossom miasma, even if it couldn't upgrade the five-cloud peach blossom miasma, it could be upgraded to the peak of a low-grade Dao artifact. His attack power would also increase greatly. What a pleasant surprise. Moreover, although Wenju didn't seem to be hurt by the five-blow thunderstruck, it didn't mean that he didn't pay a price. Although half of Wenju was already out of the ground, the latter half seemed to have exhausted all his strength. He felt lazy all over, and even breathing the poisonous gas seemed to be quite strenuous. Fortunately, the thunder tribulation was almost over. As long as he swallowed the inner Dan back into his stomach, he would successfully pass the tribulation and find a place to cultivate for another 100 years. Then, he would be able to roam the world. Unfortunately, Fong Qingshan had already aimed for the right moment and was waiting for it to come. Seeing that Wenju was completely out of the ground and the inner Dan that had completely transformed into the heaven essence fire spirit pearl was slowly pulled back by him, Fong Qingshan immediately used the greater teleportation technique. With a flash, he arrived above Wenju. The mixed element spirit's 5 elements capturing hands stretched out, and a black vortex swallowed and spat in the center of his palm. In an instant, the inner core was caught in his hand and suppressed in the space of the great devouring technique. Then, without giving Wenju any time to react, the great sealing technique enveloped and completely isolated the aura between the two. Everything happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. Hiss! The 9 peaks of a mountain were all for naught. Fong Qingshan used the greater concealment technique, so Wenju did not sense his presence at all. Seeing that he was about to succeed, someone came out of nowhere and snatched away the inner Dan that he had cultivated for 1,000 years. At this moment, he actually could not sense the aura of the inner Dan that was not a part of dual cultivation. How could Wenju not be exposed? Without a word, he opened his mouth and spat out a waterfall of poisonous gas that was as condensed as water and as black as ink. It swept towards Fong Qingshan. If it were anyone else without a pure yang treasure or a defensive treasure, they would probably turn pale with fright at the sight of this poisonous gas, fearing that it would be too late to avoid it. However, Fong Qingshan not only had the Tai 5 smoke net, a defensive treasure, but also the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma, a treasure that could turn poisonous gas into his own. Seeing the poisonous gas coming towards him, not only did he not avoid it, but a trace of excitement flashed across his face. Streaks of colorful smoke and clouds rose above Fong Qingshan's head, protecting Fong Qingshan within. With a shake of his hand, he sprinkled a rain of fallen petals, like an inescapable net, wrapping up Wenju's poisonous gas and retrieving it. Wenju's triangular eyes, like those of a viper, were fixed on Fong Qingshan. He was prepared to poison him to death and retrieve the inner Dan. However, he did not expect that things would go beyond his expectations. He was not poisoned to death, the inner Dan was not retrieved, and even the natal poison chi that he had painstakingly cultivated was like a meat bun thrown to a dog. The best thing for all creatures in the world was to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Wenju naturally knew that Fong Qingshan was in danger. He immediately gave up on the inner Dan and the natal poison chi and turned around to escape into the ground. Chapter 320. What a good one, Spider. He's really good. Seeing that when Spider was so decisive to abandon the inner elixir and the natal poisonous mist without hesitation, Fong Qingshan could not help but sigh with emotion. If it were not for the natural ferocity of this thing, which would bring him great trouble if he kept it, and the fact that Fong Qingshan still needed its natal poisonous mist, Fong Qingshan would have let it go for the sake of its inner elixir. What a pity! Fong Qingshan shook his head, raised his hand, and released the all-heaven sword. The brilliance of the 5 elements flashed, and the sword light moved. The all-heaven sword appeared above one spider's head as if it had teleported. Crack! Without any surprise, one spider's whole body was split into 2 by the all-heaven sword, and all its vitality was wiped out by the sword. Then, under the control of Fong Qingshan, the all-heaven sword gently picked up one spider's body and carved an air sac, which was the poison sac in which one spider stored the natal poisonous mist. After Fong Qingshan put away the whole poison sac with a grand sealing technique, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had obtained the Heaven Primordial Fire Spirit Pearl, a fire elemental supreme treasure, the Primordial Unity Essence, a water elemental treasure, Shang Fengzi's Providence, obtained the poison sac of the runic spider, killed the runic spider, and obtained another generous providence. The trip to Silkworm Ridge was not only satisfactory, but also exceeded the task. However, he had taken away the Laughing Monk's invisible flying sword, injured the Laughing Monk, and embarrassed the ascetic Duda, which was a little troublesome. Fortunately, he would not stay in Shu Mountain for long. Among the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, he had already obtained the treasures of 4 elements, and the only thing left was the treasures of the metal element. However, the treasures of the metal element were a little troublesome. The treasures mentioned by Immortal Ji Lul last time were basically owned, and these owners were very powerful, so he could not afford to provoke them. For example, the Pond of Elusive Ripples. In Shu Mountain, there were 2 branches that were best at the 5 elements. One was the branch of Taoist Isha and divine Hunchback Ishio, who had obtained the strange book of Isha from Fong Qingshan, and the other was the branch of the Pond of Elusive Ripples Yihuan Ridge Holy Nun. It was reasonable to say that if Fong Qingshan wanted to get the treasures of the 5 elements, it would be most appropriate to go to the Pond of Illusionary Ripples. However, not only were the restrictions in the Pond of Illusionary Ripples in a hurry, the sage nun of Yihuan Ling was also inside. This caused Fong Qingshan to shrink back. Since he could not go to the Pond of Elusive Ripples, the Guangqing Golden Boat should have been a good choice. No matter if it was the mountain cleaving axe or the golden basin that contained the various precious treasures, all of them were extremely good metal attribute precious treasures. However, there wasn't enough time. Other than that, Fong Qingshan could only choose from the Purple Cloud Palace and the Iron Knife Gorge. The Purple Cloud Palace was located deep in the Earth's core and was one of the 9 Earth spiritual palaces. He had his own masters, Mother Tian, Master Lianshan, Mother Earth, and so on. In addition to the ordinary treasures, there were 2 hidden treasures. One was hidden by Mother Tian, and the other was hidden by Mother Earth. The hidden treasures of Mother Tian were in the 19 jade pillars of the golden court of the chambers of concubines of Purple Cloud Palace. They were the so-called Golden Court Jade Pillars. The Golden Court was forged by Mother Tian, using the heaven, earth, and human true fire, and using the Western true gold. The main pillar was the treasure that Great Yu used to suppress the seas and weighed over 13,000 kilograms. If he could get it, no matter if it was the Golden Court or the Jade Pillars, they were both extremely good things. It was a pity that the Golden Court and Jade Pillars couldn't be moved. They were the treasures that suppressed the Earth's core of the Purple Cloud Palace. So he only took the hidden treasures in the Jade Pillars and didn't touch them. As for the Heaven's Mirror Lake in the Iron Knife Gorge of the Northeast Sea, there was the great white profound gold essence. Forget it, I'll just go overseas. Fong Qingshan thought about it and decided to go to the Iron Knife Gorge. The reason why he didn't choose the Purple Cloud Palace was because he wasn't sure if the Golden Court and Jade Pillars could be moved. If they couldn't be moved, wouldn't it be a waste of effort? If he forcefully took the treasures, the Earth's core would lose its suppression and there would definitely be an upheaval. At that time, he wouldn't be able to handle the huge karma. Moreover, the 3 phoenixes of the Purple Cloud Palace weren't easy to deal with. Therefore, after thinking about it, Fong Qingshan still decided to go to the Iron Knife Gorge. With the talisman of the Ji Lu Immortal, Whether it was the long couple who guarded the treasure vault or the owner of the cave, Pan Hun, who was also hiding in the treasure vault, they wouldn't make things too difficult for him. The sea and the sky were the same color, and the snow was high in the sky. The wind kept blowing, and the moon shone brightly. It was said that Fong Qingshan left the heavenly silkworm ridge and headed straight for the ocean. With the greater teleportation technique, he came and went without a trace. After a few days, the space above the East Sea wriggled. Not long after, it split into two like a door, and a person walked out. After Fong Qingshan walked out, he identified the direction and continued to fly towards the Iron Knife Gorge of the Northeast Sea. After half a day, he finally stopped above the sea. Just like the Silkworm Ridge, the Iron Knife Gorge was also named after the shape. The gorge was shaped like a big knife, and it divided the sea into two. It was the work of the gods. Fong Qingshan stood in the air and sighed. He sensed for a while, and 5 halos rose behind him. He lifted his feet and fell into the water. Before he got close, the black halos behind Fong Qingshan flashed slightly, and the sea under Fong Qingshan's feet was like a door, automatically separating to two sides, revealing a path to the sky. This function, which was like the water-repelling pearl and the sea-dividing magic power, was naturally the embodiment of Fong Qingshan's 5 elements Tao. Of course, the reason why Fong Qingshan could succeed so easily was naturally because of the help of the Deep Ocean Pearl, a high-grade water element Tao artifact. Fong Qingshan made such a big movement, and naturally, it immediately alerted the long couple who guarded the treasure vault. Fong Qingshan split the waves and went down to the sea. When he reached the bottom of the sea, he saw a vast crystal glass in front of him, like a modern screen. At this moment, there was a projection of a man and a dragon on the screen. It was the Long couple. This screen was formed by the Long Xinyuan Core's qi, and it could be used as both a monitor and a projector. The Long couple was originally cultivating in the cave when they suddenly felt a fluctuation in the sea above them. It actually alerted the cave tens of thousands of meters below them. They were shocked and didn't know what had happened, or if their enemies had come looking for them. As such, the two of them used the screen to gather information, but they didn't expect to see a young man like Fong Qingshan. They couldn't help but be surprised. "Who are you, little friend? The commotion just now was caused by my little friend? What business do you have here, little friend?" Seeing Fong Qingshan, the Long couple looked at each other, and Dong Yang couldn't help but ask. Fong Qingshan wasn't annoyed by Dong Yang's barrage of questions, and he calmly replied, "Yes, senior brother." He slowly answered. Fong Qingshan greets the two Taoists, Dong Yang and Long Xian. "The disturbance just now was indeed caused by me, and it's my fault for disturbing the two of you. As for this trip, I've received guidance from Taoist Master Jilu, and I'm here to obtain treasures from the Pan Su treasury." Chapter 321. What? Immortal Jilu? Hearing Fong Qingshan's words, the Long couple were instantly shocked, and they cried out in surprise. Dong Yang was the adopted daughter of Granny Lu, one of the 2 elders of the Great Wilderness, while Long Xian had possessed a demonic dragon. However, it was not easy for the other worldlings to cultivate, especially in Shu Mountain. Long Xian had to rely on the legendary elixirs if he wanted to break the dragon transformation. In Pan Su's treasure vault under the Iron Knife Gorge, there was the Triessence Soul Strengthening Pill refined by the ancient golden immortal Guang Qingzi. It had the miraculous effects of consolidating the soul, refining qi, and restoring the body. Other elixirs were taken orally, but this pill not only consolidates the soul, but also dispels the evil and poisonous qi in the body. If an ordinary person took one elixir, he or she would be reborn and become an individual immortal. If an otherworldling took it, he or she would immediately shed his or her old body and become a human again. His or her magical power would also increase significantly. The Long couple had received Madame Lu's guidance and decided to settle down here. However, Pan Su's treasure vault was built 3,000 years ago. Although Pan Su had accumulated countless karma points, he would probably be destroyed by the heavenly tribulation because of his sins. Therefore, he spent a lot of money to find a chance to survive. He wrapped his nascent soul with the grand white mystic gold essence chi and set up the treasure vault here, waiting for the right time. Granny Lu was from Shu Mountain, and she hated karma the most. Even someone like Immortal Ji Lu had to stay in the human world because of karma. Therefore, even though Madame Lu knew that the Triuan soul fortifying pill that Longxian needed was in the treasury, she did not lend a helping hand. Instead, she merely gave them some pointers and allowed them to settle down here so that they could seize the initiative and wait for the fated ones to come and get a share of it. However, when Granny Lu instructed them, she hinted that the person should be from a Mei sect. Why? The Long couple looked at each other and saw the suspicion in each other's eyes. Little friend, you said that you were instructed by Immortal Ji Lu. Do you have proof? Dongyang asked after a moment of silence. Of course I do. Fang Qingshan was not dissatisfied with the two suspicions. Although using someone else's name randomly would result in karma, and ordinary people would not dare to try it, there was no guarantee that there would be people who would take the risk. With a smile on his face, Fang Qingshan took out the talisman given to him by Reverend Ji Lu. Dongyang was the goddaughter of Granny Lu, and he had met Taoist Master Ji Lu before with his adoptive mother. As such, the two Metropolis Heavens and Bright River Sword Chi that were sealed here were extremely well known. He immediately nodded toward Longxian before turning to Fang Qingshan in an apologetic manner. Please forgive my rudeness, little friend. That's right. I came abruptly and disturbed you and your wife. Fang Qingshan shook his head, indicating that he did not mind. Master Ji Lu was indeed one of the biggest signboards of Shu Mountain sect. Although the two of them were puzzled, when they saw that Fang Qingshan came here under the guidance of Master Ji Lu, they didn't make things difficult for him anymore. They immediately opened the cave and welcomed Fang Qingshan in. The silver screen squirmed and split into two, as if a door had been opened, and a rainbow bridge flew out from it. One end of the rainbow bridge landed under Fang Qingshan's feet, while the other end was connected to the entrance of the Crystal Palace behind the silver screen. There stood a virtuous woman and a ferocious demon dragon. Fang Qingshan was also a bold person, so he directly stepped onto the rainbow bridge. In an instant, the rainbow bridge retracted as if it had teleported. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of the Mirror Lake Crystal Palace. In a trance, he felt like he had arrived at the East Sea Dragon Palace. The entire palace was made of crystal, with red walls and green tiles. The palace was luxuriant, and the buildings were magnificent. There were pictures of animals and immortal spirits. It was a glorious and magnificent sight. There were rare birds and strange beasts appearing and disappearing, and spiritual flowers and herbs decorated the palace. The fragrance was like the sea. It was truly the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, the home of immortals. You and your wife are really envious that you can live in this blessed land of immortals for a long time. When they arrived at the guest pavilion, the three of them sat down according to the host and guest. A maid served spirit tea. Fang Qingshan took a sip and felt refreshed. There. Dong Yang shook his head and said modestly, but his expression showed that he was very happy with Fang Qingshan's compliment. After chatting for a while, Fang Qingshan went straight to the point. I've inherited the legacy of Taoist Hisha, a golden immortal, and I cultivate the Tao of the five elements. I need a top-grade treasure of the five elements. Taoist master taught me that there's grand white, profound metal chi in the treasure vault, so I came take it. Dong Yang looked at Longxian and said to Fang Qingshan, my husband is trapped in his demonic body and needs the three-essence soul fortifying pill in the treasure vault. My husband is trapped in the body of a demon. He also needs the 3 yuan soul strengthening pills in the treasury to resolve it. However, even though we have been here for many years, we are still unable to break the array formation. Later, I learned from my adoptive mother that if we want to break the treasure vault, we have to wait for someone fated to come. I wonder. You're wrong, Taoist master. Fang Qingshan knew what Dong Yang meant and couldn't help but shake his head with a smile. There are 50 great Taos and 49 heavenly evolutions. If it's all fated, then wouldn't the world be thrown into chaos? Cultivation is defying the heavens and fighting against the heavens. According to Taoist master, shouldn't we be happy and go with the flow? Before the long couple could refute him, Fang Qingshan continued. It's true that the treasures of heaven and earth belong to the fated, but it's not just for the fated, it can also be obtained by the capable. If we can open the treasure vault and take out the treasures, then we'll naturally be fated. As for why Senior Lu Fu didn't help you, it's because she doesn't want to be tainted by karma. After all, she's about to ascend. Secondly, she's old friends with the Amei sect, so she doesn't want to ruin the opportunity for the Amei disciples. After a pause, Fang Qingshan gave the long couple some time to digest his words. But think about it. You've guarded the treasure vault for so long. In the end, are you willing to take only one triessence soul consolidation pill and let the Amei disciples take all the other treasures? After hearing Fang Qingshan's words, the long couple didn't say anything for a long time. That's right. Who would be willing to enter a treasure vault and only take a hair from 9 oxen? I agree with Taoist master's words. After a long time, Long Xian, who had been silent all this time, slowly spoke. However, it's not that we don't want to take the treasures, it's just that we really don't have a choice. The restrictions in the treasure vault are very powerful. Even after so many years, we still can't break through the second layer of restrictions. What can we do? That's right. Dong Yang nodded in agreement. They could clearly take all the treasures. So who would be willing to take only a scoop of 3,000 treasures? Haha, you don't have to worry about that. Since I'm here, I naturally have a way to break through the restrictions in the treasure vault. Fang Qingshan laughed heartily. Really? The long couple was overjoyed when they heard that, but they immediately frowned. After all, Fang Qingshan's cultivation was inferior to theirs. Whether it's a mule or a horse, won't we know if it's real or not? Fang Qingshan did not explain and said indifferently. Chapter 3:22. Heaven Mirror Lake. Fang Qingshan and the long couple were all here. Pansu's treasury was right under the lake. Let's go, Long Xian said to Fang Qingshan and Dong Yang. A dazzling blue pearl rose up from the top of his head and released a barrier of light that enveloped Dong Yang. Then he dove into the lake. This was the dragon Pearl Long Xian had possessed, so he could naturally control the water element. When Fang Qingshan saw this, the black halo representing the water attribute behind him also flashed, splitting the lake water into two, and stepped into it. With Long Xian leading the way, Fang Qingshan and the others soon arrived at Pansu's treasury. Pansu's treasury was divided into 4 levels, including the outer cave level and the inner cave level. The first level of the outer cave was where the long couple had already broken the restriction. There was only a divine tablet inscribed with vermilion script that recorded the origin of the treasury. The second level was the first level of the inner cave. Apart from the tablet that sealed the second level, there was only one sea-suppressing treasure. Just like the Purple Cloud Palace's Golden Court Jade Pillar, the sea-suppressing treasure could suppress the eye of the sea and the heart of the earth. Otherwise, the roar of mountains and the roar of seas would cause the earth to shake, and it would surely cause the death of a large number of living beings, causing the boundless karmic energy of tribulation to gather. If they didn't have supreme karmic luck, then not to mention immortal ascension, it was unknown if they could even be reincarnated as a human after death. The third level of the treasury was the second level of the inner cave. This was where the true treasures were hidden. Apart from the tablet that sealed the third level, there were 7 treasures and Pan Luo's origin spirit wrapped in profound white gold qi. As for the last level, there was a Taoist book that seemed to be related to Ling Yun, Qing Yun, Xiling, Renying, Yingxiong, Yunfeng, and Zhu Ping. The book was probably from the Yingyun sisters. This is the place. Long Xian stopped in front of a cave abode and said to Fang Qingshan, "We've already broken through the first level, but there's nothing here apart from a tablet that tells us the origin of the treasury. My wife and I have already broken through the first level, but other than a stone tablet that tells us the origin of this place, there is nothing else. As for the second level, we have worked so hard, but we have not been able to advance even an inch. Also, the restriction inside is extremely powerful, so be careful. Don't worry. Fang Qingshan nodded, indicating that he understood. He followed the long couple into the first level of the Pan Su treasure vault and saw a huge stone tablet standing tall. On it was written in vermilion script, describing in detail the history of the treasure vault and how it was left for those who were fated to find it. Fang Qingshan only gave it a quick glance and didn't pay any more attention to it. He followed Long Xian and his wife to the second layer of restrictions. He didn't know if Fang Qingshan and the others had triggered the mechanism or if the restrictions here were sentient. Just as Fang Qingshan and the others stepped in, they saw rays of light radiating out from behind the stone steel. Streams of pure, vast, and boundless astral energy shot out from the restrictive array, transforming into 7 stars that leaped out abruptly, forming a huge ladle in the air. Following that, boundless starlight descended, sweeping towards Fang Qingshan and the others. Be careful. The long couple were a step slower. When they saw this scene, they immediately shouted. However, their worries were clearly unnecessary. Although Fang Qingshan didn't expect the restriction to appear so suddenly, he had always been cautious. How could he not be prepared? However, before the long couple could finish their words, they saw a 5-colored cloud rise above Fang Qingshan's head. The cloud was as thin as a veil, and it swirled with the wind. No matter how bright and sharp the starlight was, it could do nothing to Fang Qingshan and was completely blocked. Tai 5 smoke net. The long couple had also heard of the famous treasures of Shu Mountain. When they saw the shape of the treasure on Fang Qingshan's body, as well as the effect of the restrictions attack, how could they not know that this was the #1 defensive treasure of the unorthodox sects? At this time, the two of them finally had a little more confidence in Fang Qingshan's ability to get the treasure. Previously, when Fang Qingshan was suddenly attacked, they deliberately didn't tell Fang Qingshan about it. Their purpose was only to test Fang Qingshan. After all, they had come here to break the restriction countless times. They didn't know that there would be an attack as soon as they turned around the stone tablet. However, they didn't want to trick Fang Qingshan. They mainly wanted to see if Fang Qingshan was just talking big or if he really had the ability. After all, he was too young and his cultivation wasn't that high. Fang Qingshan was well aware of this, but he didn't think much of it. He turned around and nodded at them, then leaped into the hole. The long couple looked at each other and followed closely behind. Below the hole, there was another world. The space wasn't big, but it was densely covered with formations and restrictions. Looking at the runes that emitted a ferocious aura, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but nod to himself. Fellow Taoist Fang, this is the place that blocked us, husband and wife. Are you confident? After carefully sizing up Fang Qingshan, Dong Yang couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong with you?" "Of course." Fang Qingshan nodded and said to the two of them, "Wait a moment, I'll find the weak point of the formation restriction. Everyone attack together and break through it in one go. Otherwise, if the formation is endless, we won't be able to endure it." "All right." Seeing how confident Fang Qingshan was, the long couple hurriedly nodded in agreement. When Fang Qingshan saw this, he immediately turned his head, and 2 rays of light shot out from his eyes. In a trance, the long couple felt as if Fang Qingshan had become one with the entire space around him. They looked at each other, inwardly surprised, but at the same time, they gained a little more confidence. But Fang Qingshan's eyes were alternating between black and white, the sun rising and the moon setting. His eyes were like the gleam of a sword. Once again, he used the void escape sword technique. This time, compared to the time when Fang Qingshan was in Daxiong's treasure house, he had improved again. And this time, compared to the Buddhist mantra in Daxiong's treasure house, this treasure house was a level weaker. With this, Fang Qingshan quickly found the node of the formation restriction. "Here, let's attack together." At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly shouted and took out the all-heaven sword. A huge sun rose into the sky, and the sun shone brightly. Long Xian and his wife had been waiting for Fang Qingshan's call. As soon as they heard him, The two of them immediately attacked the place where Fang Qingshan was attacking. Rumble. In an instant, the entire restrictive formation was activated, and endless flames erupted. The three of them felt as if they were in a furnace of heaven and earth, and the fire was mixed with countless fireballs. Along with the fireballs wrapped around the three of them, and the fireballs hit their protective treasures like rain on a banana leaf. Fang Qingshan had the Tai 5 Smokes Luo, and the Long couple were even more experienced. They used the chi of righteousness from their treasures to wrap themselves up. Although these restrictive formations were powerful, they could not hurt them at all. Facing such a fierce attack, the Long couple was not surprised, but happy. They knew that this was the light of the setting sun. Sure enough, when the dust had settled and the second layer of restriction had survived the last explosion, the second layer of restriction had already vanished into thin air. Let's go. Seeing this, the three of them were happy at the same time. They looked at each other and entered one after another. Chapter 3:23. After entering the second floor, the first thing that entered their eyes was the pagoda that stood in the center. It was a few feet tall and was a dark gold color. It shone brightly as it stood on the ground. One didn't need to look closely to know that it was a great treasure with just one glance. The Long couple had been guarding the treasury for many years, but they could only look at it and not touch it. Now that they saw the pagoda, they were overjoyed and wanted to go up to take it. However, the moment they moved, they remembered that Fang Qingshan was next to them and couldn't help but stop. Please forgive me, Fang Daoist. Dong Yang smiled embarrassedly. There, the two Taoists were able to restrain their desires even after seeing the Dharma treasure. It's clear that their temperaments are impressive. Fang Qingshan first praised them before explaining. The real place where the treasure is hidden is still behind. It's best if the two of you don't have any ideas about this pagoda. It's a sea-suppressing treasure that suppresses the eye of the sea. Once you touch it, there will be unimaginable disasters. When the Long couple heard this, they were immediately alarmed. If they had acted rashly and touched the treasure, the eye of the sea would have erupted, and there would have been heavy casualties. They would have committed countless sins. At that time, they would not have been able to pursue the path of immortality. Disaster would have befallen them on the spot, and they would have no chance of survival. They knew that this was Fang Qingshan's revenge for not warning him earlier. The two of them couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but smile. Although he didn't mind the Long couple testing him, it was impolite not to return the favor. If he didn't scare them, they would think that he was easy to bully. After reminding the two of them, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but raise his head to look at the top of the cave. 10 feet above the ground, there was a human-shaped iron plate that was about 6 inches long and had 2 ears on the front. It was originally black and only had a faint glow, but as it grew stronger, the glow turned white, making the entire cave as bright as day. Fang Qingshan knew that this was the Dharma plate that could open the door to the second floor. He reached out with his hand and used the mixed elements 5 elements Great Qi Na hand to grab it. Seeing the Long couple look over, he couldn't help but explain. There was nothing else on the second floor other than this Dharma plate. Therefore, after Fang Qingshan took it, he immediately led the Long couple to the next floor. That was where the real treasures were hidden. Entering the 3rd level of the cave, it was similar to the array formation at the stone stele. The moment Fang Qingshan and the others entered, it was as if they had triggered a mechanism. The ambush from all directions was activated. The only difference from last time was that it wasn't starlight or fire, but instead, it was the golden lightning fire blade and the mystic ice fiend chi. Like the tide, each wave was higher than the last. At the same time, the golden thunder golden blade chi, the 3 of the Dharma plate. The cave was filled with traps and traps. Anything could happen. Even though they were caught off guard by this as well, Long Xian and the other 2 did not panic at all. That was because they had not removed their defensive treasures ever since they entered this place. Even though this would consume some of their powers, it was safer. As for Fang Qingshan, he was even more confident. Without waiting for the attacks to land, he took out the Dharma plate that he had just obtained and activated it with his Dharma power. Hum! A strange fluctuation instantly spread out, and a rainbow light flashed. Not only did the attack disappear like smoke, as if it had never appeared, but the sealing power also disappeared. Seeing this, the Long couple's eyes lit up. They followed Fang Qingshan and walked forward. The third floor was the same as the second floor. There was only a Dharma plate and a cauldron. However, the pagoda on the second floor was used to suppress the eye of the sea and couldn't be touched. The cauldron was where the real treasures were. Not only did it contain Pan Su's 7 treasures, but it also contained Pan Su's primordial spirit and great white metal chi. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and took the Dharma plate. Just then, something strange happened. The Dharma plate that opened the second floor and the Dharma plate that he had just obtained were like yin and yang. With a snap, they fused together seamlessly as if they were originally one. However, the newly formed token had a ball of light in the shape of Tai Chi at the front, and the yin and yang chi were flowing in it. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan vaguely remembered that the Dharma plate that opened the cave abode was also a powerful treasure. When these 2 Dharma plates were combined with one of Pan Su's 7 treasures, the Meridian token, they could form a brand new treasure, the Meridian Yin-Yang token. This treasure had the same effect as the ancient treasure, the Cosmic Disk. It could emit the Meridian Yin-Yang divine light, which was specialized in breaking the Aurora Grand Fire origin magnetic chi. Moreover, this treasure could attack and defend. When it attacked, it would turn into a sun, and when it defended, it would be like a bright moon. If the treasures in Pan Su's treasure vault were to be ranked, this treasure would be above the green flame. Wait! Just as Fang Qingshan was about to use the Dharma plate to open the treasure vault, Dong Yang's eyes flashed, and he suddenly stopped him. What's wrong? Fang Qingshan furrowed his brows and looked at her in confusion. The treasure vault should be down there. Dong Yang ignored Fang Qingshan's confusion and asked softly. That's right. Fang Qingshan nodded. All right, since that's the case, let's discuss how we're going to split the treasures. Dong Yang said. That's right. Even brothers should settle accounts clearly. Let's settle things first. Long Xian couldn't help but nod. In fact, it wasn't that they didn't have other thoughts. At this point, if they could get rid of Fang Qingshan, they would be able to enjoy the treasure vault alone. However, this thought only appeared in their minds for a moment before they threw it to the back of their minds. First of all, Fang Qingshan had the Tai 5 Smoky Net, a defensive treasure. The All-Heaven sword in his hand sent chills down Long Xian's spine, even though he was a demonic dragon. It was clearly a rare killing treasure, and it wouldn't be easy to take him down. Moreover, Fang Qingshan had perfected Ji Lu behind him. Although they didn't know the mysterious relationship between Fang Qingshan and perfected Ji Lu, the fact that they had an identity plate meant that they had a close relationship. If they killed Fang Qingshan and angered perfected Ji Lu, even the 2 elders of the Great Wilderness might not be able to save them. However, the most important thing was that the talisman sealed Tiandu and Ming He's sword chi. They couldn't stop it at all. Once it was activated by Fang Qingshan, it would be a life-and-death struggle. Therefore, Long Xian and Long Xian suppressed their greed and wanted to discuss the distribution plan with Fang Qingshan before taking the treasures. I was wondering what was going on. I see. Fang Qingshan couldn't help but chuckle when he heard Long Xian and Long Xian's words. If that's the case, you don't have to worry. My main purpose for coming here is the great white metal essence. Fang Qingshan's gaze swept across the 2 of them as he smiled. As long as the 2 of you agree to one condition, I won't take any of the other treasures. Chapter 3:24. What? Hearing what Fang Qingshan said, Long Xian and his wife were shocked. They had been shocked enough today. First, the fated Amei disciple didn't come, but Fang Qingshan came out of nowhere and was guided by Dao Master Delu to get the treasures. Following that, the seal that they had been attacking for so many years to no avail, to the point where they had given up on it, was actually broken by Fang Qingshan. And now, what did they hear? Fang Qingshan agreed to one condition. Other than the grand, white, profound gold essence, he didn't want a single treasure. From a stone tablet on the first floor, they knew that there were a total of 7 treasures in Pan Su's treasury, and every single one of them was of high quality, or even supreme. Normal people would treasure one of them, but Fang Qingshan wanted to give up all of them. Why did they feel like it was a fantasy story? Fellow Taoist Fang, is what you said true? Long Xian and his wife looked at each other for a long time and asked doubtfully. More serious than real gold. Fang Qingshan answered without hesitation. Then, what is Taoist condition? Long Xian took a deep breath and asked in a serious tone. There must be a demon behind all of this. Fang Qingshan was willing to give up all of the treasures just for one condition. Either he had some ulterior motive, or this condition was hard to accept. But no matter which one it wasn't easy. Don't be so nervous. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and said with a smile, my condition is very simple. I don't want you to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a sea of flames. Nor do I want you to do anything outrageous. I just want you to make an oath. What oath? Although Fang Qingshan said it casually, Long Xian and his wife became even more cautious. In the world of cultivation, oaths should not be made randomly because it could easily cause karma. Once the heaven and earth witnessed it, it had to be completed or else there would be disaster. As long as the two of you make an oath and promise to share some of your luck with me in the future, I won't take any of the treasures in Pan Su's treasury except for the grand white profound gold essence. Fang Qingshan said with a smile. Yes, he was playing the same old trick again. Not long ago, when Fang Qingshan came overseas, Shang Fengzi finally succeeded in entering Mount Mei. How'd he know? Naturally, it was because a small but spreading fate had suddenly appeared in his sea of consciousness. Therefore, this time, Fang Qingshan was prepared to do the same. For him, in addition to the great white metal essence qi, all kinds of magic treasures, Taoist books and talismans were good, especially the Meridian Yin-Yang token, but he didn't need them. Quality, not quantity, of magic treasures. As of now, he had the All-Heaven Sword for offense, which was a peerless Tao tool for killing. For defense, he had the Tai 5 Smoky Net, which was also a peerless Tao tool for defense. Even the 5-Cloud Peach Blossom Miasma could be upgraded to a middle-grade Tao tool if he refined the poison sacs of the Wind Spider. He did not lack Dharma treasures. If he used some unnecessary Dharma treasures to exchange for an endless stream of fate qi, Fang Qingshan naturally wouldn't hesitate. Long Xian and his wife looked at each other again. The shock they experienced today was the most they had ever experienced in their lives. Unlike Shang Fengzi, they naturally had a deeper understanding of fate qi. They knew how important fate qi was to a person. However, fate qi couldn't be seen or touched. Other than the legendary all-seeing eye, no one could see or use fate qi. But now, Fang Qingshan actually said that as long as he made an oath, he would get a share of fate qi. How could they not be confused? Indeed, the path of luck was extremely profound. It was not something that ordinary people could inherit or bear just by swearing an oath. But Fang Qingshan was different. He knew the great curse art and could steal the other party's fate qi. He also knew the minor destiny art and had the all-heaven chessboard, a treasure of fate qi. Brother Fang, are you serious? Long Xian asked with a don't-Joe expression. The treasury is right in front of us. I can also make an oath with the two of you. The truth will be verified immediately. Fang Qingshan said casually. It seems like he's serious. Is his brain fried? Long Xian and his wife exchanged glances and saw the same thought in each other's eyes. However, no matter what the reason was for Fang Qingshan to come up with such a plan, it seemed to be beneficial to them. 7 treasures, heavenly tomes, and talismans. If they could take all of them for themselves and cultivate for 100 years, they might be able to become immortals one day. As for giving Fang Qingshan a share of fate qi, it wasn't a big deal if he could get his hands on all the treasures. It was just one share, and it wasn't much. Plus, it was unheard of for one to change one's luck just by making an oath. What do you think? Fang Qingshan asked with a smile. All right, we agree. Long Xian and his wife exchanged glances and nodded at the same time. All right, let's make the oath. Hearing this, Fang Qingshan's heart leaped with joy. Then, everyone can rest assured. All right, Long Xian and his wife had no objections. In the name of Hongjun Tiandao, today, Fang Qingshan makes an oath. As long as Long Xian and his wife promise to give me a share of their fate qi, I will not take anything else from the treasury except for the profound white gold essence. Without hesitation, Fang Qingshan made the oath first. The authenticity of the oath was obvious. At this point, Long Xian and his wife had no objections and made the oath at the same time. In the name of Hongjun Tiandao, I, Long Xian / Dongyang, make an oath today. If Fang Qingshan, the Taoist, keeps his promise, other than the profound white gold essence, all the other treasures will be given to me and my wife. In the future, we will give him a share of our fate qi. As soon as Long Xian and his wife finished their words, they felt like Hongjun Tiandao was the witness. All right, let's go in and get the treasures. With another source of fate qi, Fang Qingshan was in a good mood. He took the lead and walked toward the last treasure on the third floor, the golden cauldron. Long Xian and his wife quickly followed. You should make your preparations first. Fang Qingshan reminded them when they arrived before the golden cauldron. Once I open the treasury, these treasures will fly away if we don't take them away in time. Thank you, Fang Taoist, for your reminder. Long Xian and his wife shuddered upon hearing this, and they immediately expressed their gratitude to Fang Qingshan. Then Dongyang waved his hand, and dozens of triangular flags flew out. Clap, clap, clap. An array instantly formed and sealed the cave entrance. All right, pay attention. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan nodded. He waved the yin-yang token in his hand and shot out a black and white yin-yang qi toward the golden cauldron. Buzz! The golden cauldron, which was as still as a mountain, suddenly shone brightly. Rays of light shot out, and one door after another opened. At the same time, the light outside disappeared. The cauldron shone brightly, and the sound of metal colliding could be heard. Chapter 325. Lightning danced in the sky, and the light was blinding. First was a dragon-shaped purple light. This item was called the purple light bracelet. It was purple in color and could transform into a dragon. It could travel through the clouds and summon rain. Although its attack and defense weren't outstanding, it was very useful at specific times, especially when accumulating external techniques. The Long couple had already received Fang Qingshan's warning, so the moment the purple light bracelet flew out, it was hit by a pearl. It was Long Xian's dragon pearl. Although treasures had spirits, they couldn't compare to Long Xian's dragon pearl. Moreover, one was flying by instinct, while the other was moving. Naturally, they couldn't be compared. The moment the purple light bracelet was hit by the dragon pearl, there was a buzzing sound, and it reverted to its original form. It staggered in the air like a drunk old man. Then Dongyang waved his hand and put it into his bag. Before they could rejoice, the flying of the purple bracelet seemed to be a signal, and the Dharma treasures of the other 5 sects also flew out impatiently. The light of the treasures shone in all directions, and the momentum was great. Although there were only a few Dharma treasures, it seemed like there were dozens of them, or even hundreds of Dharma treasures flying out at the same time. This time, apart from the purple light bracelet, the other 6 treasures flew out together. There were 7 sparks arranged in a zigzag pattern. They twisted and wriggled as they chased each other. They danced out like snakes, dragons, and the Big Dipper. It shone brightly, red with a hint of purple. It was a green flame. This was the most important treasure among the 7 treasures. Not only could it summon the power of the Azure Dragon to the lower world, but it could also form the Azure Dragon true body if it had enough spiritual power. Although it could not compare to the Heaven Origin Fire Spirit Bead that Fang Qingshan had just obtained, it was still a rare treasure. Even compared to the purple Tusita flame in the Golden Stone Mansion, it was probably only on par with it. Other than the green flame, there was also a needle-shaped treasure. It looked like a flying shuttle, but it wasn't made of jade. It was about 3 inches long and had talismans carved on it. It was called the shining needle. When it was activated, it would emit a black light that was 5 to 6 feet long. It didn't shoot forward, but instead hung straight in the air and spun rapidly. It released a large amount of black light. Although this object was called the profound heroic needle, it was a magic treasure that was best at restraining needles. Speaking of needle-type magical treasures, although they were not mainstream in Shushan, they still shone brightly. The most famous one was the 36,000 cosmos needles in the hands of Reverend Jilu, whom Fang Qingshan had just seen not long ago. Good heavens, it was born at the same time as Green Robe's 100 poison golden silkworm goo, but the result was completely different. Not only did the same person have different fates, even the same needle had different fates. The 100 poison golden silkworm was destroyed in one battle, which naturally showed the domineering power of the heaven and earth needle. Unfortunately, because the person who used it was too powerful, it somewhat overshadowed the host. In addition, Fang Qingshan had also considered the Gung armor divine needles, which were made from the metal and earth elemental vital qi and were extremely powerful. There were also the white-brown needles made by the white brow of the heavenly fox lady. There were a total of 3,659 needles. As long as they were shot into the body, they would flow along the blood vessels and directly pierce the heart. It was extremely powerful, and so on. There was also a treasure that looked like 3 2-feet-long, colorful feathers. This object was a tail feather of a 5-colored wand phoenix with the bloodline of the ancient vermilion bird. It could transform into a 5-colored wand phoenix to attack people, especially the primordial spirit attack. If one was not careful or did not have a primordial spirit defense treasure, he might fail miserably in an easy task. There was also an ancient bell, which was green in color and was as clear as water. It was called the Green Spirit Bell. All magic treasures, such as bells, cauldrons, furnaces, and pagodas, should not be underestimated. This Green Spirit Bell was no exception. Although its attack was not as good as the previous Green Flame, and its defense seemed to be somewhat unworthy of its reputation, it was an excellent spiritual treasure that could assist in cultivation. Although it could not reach the effect of the Path Understanding Tree or the Bodhi Seed, when one was in closed-door training, it would emit a mysterious and refreshing sound when hung up. Not only could it make it easier for one to calm down and focus, it could also reduce the chances of one's cultivation going berserk. Apart from the purple light bracelet, the Green Spirit Bell, the Wand Phoenix Feather, and the Shining Needle, the remaining 2 magic treasures were the Soaring Serpent Hoop and the Meridian Medallion. The Soaring Serpent Hoop was not a big deal. The Soaring Serpent was a defensive magic treasure. Although it was not as good as the Tai 5 smoke net, it was still very rare. Furthermore, it had the ability to move through the earth. The earth-piercing needle in Fang Qingshan's hand was made from a soaring serpent by the Heaven Abhorrer deity king. As mentioned earlier, the Meridian Medallion could be combined with the 2 cards in Fang Qingshan's hand to form a brand new magic treasure, the Meridian Yin-Yang Medallion. This treasure was comparable to the primordial treasure, the Cosmic Disc. It could be used for both offense and defense. Of course, it was different from the Green Spirit Bell. The Meridian Divine Ray it emitted was not inferior to the sword Qi of ordinary high-grade flying swords. Furthermore, it was specialized in breaking through magnetic lasers. If one had this treasure in the polar regions, they would be invincible. When the 6 treasures appeared at the same time, the Long couple couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Even though the 2 of them had a deep relationship with the 2 elders of Great Desolation, they didn't have any powerful magic treasures. Even though their sacred art was pretty good among itinerant cultivators, they were still a far cry from the disciples of famous sections. If Fang Qingshan hadn't reminded them to set up the formation, they would probably be filled with regret. Long Xian controlled the Dragon Pearl to send out a wave that swept away the Green Spirit Bell and Shining Needle. Dong Yang used a spell to suppress the Soaring Serpent Hoop. As for the Wanfeng Feather, Azure Flame, and Meridian Medallion, he couldn't care about them anymore. Fortunately, there was a formation that sealed the cave door blocking the 3 magic treasures. Fong Daoist, please help us collect the magic treasures. Even though Dong Yang had set up a formation earlier, it was nothing more than an ordinary formation, so its defensive power was only SOSO. After being attacked by the 3 supreme treasures, it was on the verge of collapse, so Dong Yang hurriedly turned to Fong Qingshan for help. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but shrug. He extended his hand, and a black hole slowly rotated in his palm. In the blink of an eye, a world-devouring power enveloped the 3 treasures. Immediately, the 3 supreme treasures could not help but pause. Following that, Fong Qingshan's eyes flashed. 2 beams of light, one black and one white, flew out and struck the Luanfeng feather and azure flame. The 2 treasures seemed to have been sealed in an instant. Without any resistance, they fell into Fong Qingshan's palm. As for the Meridian Medallion, Fong Qingshan waved the formation tablet in his hand and shot out a beam of light. Buzz! The Meridian Medallion seemed to have been summoned. It flew back like a swallow returning to the forest and embedded itself into the yin-yang spirit in the air. It was a perfect fit. At this time, the Long couple also suppressed the magic treasures in their hands and put them away. Seeing this, they were overjoyed. Chapter 326. Thank you, Brother Fong. The Long couple put away the Dharma treasures and came to Fong Qingshan's side at the same time. If it weren't for Brother Fong, we would have regretted it for the rest of our lives. If it weren't for Fong Qingshan's reminder and help, they would have only been able to watch the treasures fly away before their eyes. That kind of mentality would have probably turned into an inner demon if they weren't careful. Fong Qingshan looked at them with a faint smile and chuckled. He waved his hand and tossed the treasures he had just obtained to them. Since I said that I wouldn't take anything other than the profound white metal essence, I'm naturally a man of my words. The Long couple couldn't help but feel awkward when they heard that. It turned out that although the 2 of them had repeatedly expressed their gratitude to Fong Qingshan, they had intentionally or unintentionally surrounded Fong Qingshan. It wasn't that they were measuring the heart of a gentleman with their own mean measures, but they had to be careful because of the financial report. Although Fong Qingshan had sworn an oath, nothing was too strange in this world. No one knew if Fong Qingshan had a secret technique that was not bound by such an oath. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. Even though the Long clan's husband and wife had already learned about the origin of the treasure from the stone tablet on the first floor, they only realized just how shocked they were when they actually held the treasure in their hands and felt it. This was especially so for loose cultivators like them. It was like a shockwave. If they were in Fong Qingshan's shoes, they probably wouldn't have been able to resist the greed in their hearts and wanted to take the Dharma treasures for themselves. That was why they acted this way. Although Fong Qingshan didn't point it out, the Long couple was still extremely embarrassed. After taking the 3 Dharma treasures, they smiled embarrassedly. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Dong Yang hurriedly changed the topic. Brother Fong, although we've obtained the 7 treasures of flesh, the Tri-Soul Consolidation pill doesn't seem to be among them. The Long couple had coveted the flesh treasure vault for the Tri-Soul Consolidation pill, refined by the ancient golden immortal Guangqingzi, which could remove Long Xian's demon body. However, even though he'd obtained all sorts of precious treasures and obtained unprecedented gains, he couldn't help but be slightly worried while feeling happy. After all, he had yet to obtain one of his most important targets. If he couldn't obtain the 3 elemental soul fortifying pill, then no matter how many magic treasures he obtained, this treasure hunt would be a failure. Don't worry. Fong Qingshan shook his head and said lightly. The rest, including the 3 soul-strengthening pills, the Pan Luo scripture, and the 73 talismans, are all in the great white, profound gold essence power in the cauldron. Who? Hearing Fong Qingshan's words, Long Xian and his wife couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Earlier, they had thought that the 3 fundamental soul-fortifying pills were no longer around. Even though their harvest this time around was great, magic treasures were just external objects at the end of the day. On the other hand, medicinal pills could allow Long Xian to be reborn and pursue the great Tao. The two of them could not be compared at all. I just don't know how the Taoist can break the profound white gold essence qi. Then, the two of them frowned. The profound white gold essence power was a treasure that could even trap Pan Su's Yuan Shan. One should know that even though Pan Su was only left with his Yuan Shan, his cultivation level was still higher than the three immortals and the two elders. Although the couple had the cultivation of a loose immortal, compared to Pan Su, even though they only had Yuan Shan, the difference was like the difference between a firefly and the bright moon. Since I'm here for the treasure, I naturally have a way to deal with them. Fang Qingshan nodded and said confidently. Then, he changed the topic. Not just me, you guys could do it too. We can do it too. Hearing this, the Long couple couldn't help but be dumbfounded. The Taoist can't be joking, right? Joking. Fang Qingshan shook his head and pointed out the method. It's very simple. It's in your hands. The Meridian Yin-Yang token is the way to break the profound white gold essence power. This item is comparable to the ancient treasure, the cosmic light disk. It can emit the Meridian Yin-Yang ray, which is specialized in breaking all kinds of magnetic lasers. The profound white gold essence power is no exception. Really? When the Long couple heard this, they were immediately overjoyed. Putting aside the fact that it could neutralize the great white profound gold essence, it was actually comparable to the ancient treasure, the cosmic light plate. This was a precious treasure. The two of them did not care too much and immediately took out the token and started refining it. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan shrugged and ignored the two of them. He stepped into the golden cauldron. Although the golden cauldron wasn't big, it was a whole different world inside. Although it hadn't reached the level of a small kiliacosm, it wasn't much smaller than the few levels of the treasure vault. As soon as Fang Qingshan entered, he immediately felt his body sink. It was as if he had fallen into a swamp. Looking around, he saw layers of black fog spreading in all directions. Fang Qingshan knew that this was the profound white gold essence power he wanted. This item was condensed from the profound white gold star's baleful star. It was extremely powerful. Although it was just a fog, it was extremely dense. Even though Fang Qingshan was an accomplished physique cultivator, he found it difficult to move even an inch inside. More importantly, once this item was condensed, it would automatically turn into a sealed state. Without any external force to break it, it would be extremely difficult to break free. Pan Su could have ascended a long time ago, but he was trapped inside and couldn't move. Inside this energy, other than a baby-like figure in the center, there was also a cyan leather bag. This item was covered in fine scales and shone with a green light. It was about 2 feet long and wasn't sealed. 3 soul fortifying Dan, the heavenly book of Pan Luo, and the 73 talismans were all inside. Swallow. Fang Qingshan's shoulder shook. The 5 rings of light behind him suddenly shone brightly. An enormous force pushed the profound white gold essence power back a little, giving Fang Qingshan some space to move. Next, he slapped his forehead, and the 5 rings of light behind him suddenly shook. The 4 rings of metal, wood, fire, and earth suddenly dimmed and turned into black rings of light. All of a sudden, an extremely cold and negative power burst out. An ocean that looked like the Northern Ocean began floating behind Fang Qingshan's head. The temperature was extremely cold, the water was extremely heavy, and the ocean was extremely dark. Buzz. Not long after, the ocean rippled again, and it grew bigger and bigger, as if something was about to drill out. At a certain moment, a gigantic creature that was neither a bird nor a fish, with a height of 3,000 miles, emerged from the water. If one didn't know better, one might even think that it was a continent. It was the Kuan Peng. The Kuan Peng emerged from the ocean, opened its mouth, and swallowed. A black hole was immediately formed. The dense, profound, white gold essence power in all directions was pulled into the Kuan Peng's mouth by a tremendous force. At the same time, inside Kuan Peng's belly, a 5-colored millstone had been spinning slowly, crushing and condensing those small black snakes that had been swallowed into a golden, dazzling pearl. Chapter 3:27. Just as the golden pearl formed by the Taibai mystic gold essence Qi was formed, the Kuan Peng's devouring power suddenly increased. If the devouring power was 1 before, it was now 5. In an instant, the devouring power swept through the entire space of the golden cauldron. All the Taibai mystic gold essence Qi flowed into the Kuan Peng's mouth. In an instant, the golden pearl grew bigger and brighter. Countless runes flashed faintly, and a dharma appeared in the core like a spirit. It was a metal emperor, like a supreme being of metal that could control all metal in the world. At the same time, 4 more spiritual pearls flew out of Feng Qingshan's 5 elements halo. One of them evolved into a vast ocean. The blue waves of the ocean were as clear as water, yet gentle and illusory. One transformed into a boundless sea of fire, burning mountains and boiling seas, violent and scorching. One transformed into 100,000 mountains, towering between heaven and earth, suppressing all directions, fierce and unstoppable. Every single one of them produced a gate that was extremely profound. They seemed to exist continuously, growing and multiplying without end. These 4 pearls were the deep ocean pearl that represented the water element, the heaven fire spirit pearl that represented the fire element, the western divine mud ball that represented the earth element, and the dark female pearl that represented the wood element. With the 5 elements gathered, a mysterious and indescribable aura began to spread. The 5 spiritual pearls established a faint connection with each other, slowly revolving around Feng Qingshan. Their auras resonated. The 5 spiritual pearls first allowed their elemental auras to be on the same frequency, then slowly fluctuated and adjusted until they were on the same level as Feng Qingshan's physical aura. Then they approached each other bit by bit, as if they were going to merge into his body. Sigh. Feng Qingshan suddenly sighed, using his willpower to forcibly stop this advancement. He knew that if this situation continued, he could naturally break through to the immortal body. Unfortunately, this was not the time and place. After all, there was an old sky immortal monster who was about to break free. Kid, who are you? As expected, just as Feng Qingshan suppressed his cultivation and opened his eyes, he saw a pair of dazzling lights. The eyes of the primordial spirit of Pan Su, which was wrapped in the great white mystic gold essence Qi and sealed in the center of the golden cauldron, had already opened. It was about 3 feet tall and looked like a fruit. It was dressed in a Tai Chi 8 trigrams robe and had an ancient appearance. It was looking at Feng Qingshan with an expressionless face. Although it didn't move at all under the envelopment of its invisible aura, Feng Qingshan felt suffocated. It was like a mountain, like the sea, like a prison. It was truly something that Feng Qingshan had never seen in his life. Compared with venerable Ling Long in a mortal world, it is not the difference between a bright moon and a firefly, but it is also a world of difference. Although Reverend Ji Lu was much more powerful than Pan Su, he didn't show his power in front of him at all. As for Green Robe, he was heavily injured and not in peak condition. The ascetic Duda was only a clone. Moreover, both of them were only at the Earth Immortal Realm, still a distance away from the Heaven Immortal Realm. Feng Qingshan let out a muffled groan and used all his techniques. First, the 5 rays of light representing the 5 elements behind him evolved into a square millstone that slowly ground, obliterating all the aura that enveloped Feng Qingshan little by little. Following that, the all-heaven sword behind him also released a soaring sword aura, sweeping across and cutting in all directions. Then, the Tai 5 smokes net rose into the sky, creating a dreamy and illusory scene that protected Feng Qingshan in it. With these 3 layers of protection, Feng Qingshan finally got rid of the restraint of Pan Su's heaven immortal aura. What a domineering Reverend Pan Su. Is this how you treat your savior? Although it was only for a while, Feng Qingshan was sweating profusely, as if he was dehydrated. After finally isolating the heaven immortal aura, he couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Looking at Pan Su, his expression became unfriendly. Savior. Pan Su looked at Fong Qingshan with narrowed eyes, a hint of surprise flashing across his heart. Although he was only a nascent soul cultivator, which was the lowest way to break through to the heaven immortal realm, he was still a heaven immortal after all. It was surprising that Fong Qingshan could actually isolate the two supreme treasures, one for attack and one for defense. Apart from the yin-yang meridian token, there was probably no other treasure in his treasure vault that could compare to it. The five elements great Tao behind him had actually reached the stage of manifesting Tao fruit. Even some earth immortals might not have this level. However, all of this was not a reason to ruin his plan. He had calculated for so long back then, and the final result was that there was still some time before the seal was opened, and the person who came should be his old friend. The first level of the treasure vault clearly recorded the opening date of the next few levels and the person who came. How dare you call yourself a savior? Pan Su's eyes flashed with coldness. Fong Qingshan sneered, shook his head, and asked instead of answering. Those warnings were calculated by you, senior. That's right. Although he did not know why Fong Qingshan asked such a question, Pan Su still nodded, and at the same time, he secretly accelerated his recovery. Yes, after Pan Su woke up and saw Fong Qingshan, he did not directly capture him, because he was not at his peak state after being sealed by the grand white metal essence for 1,000 years. He was originally a nascent soul cultivator, and after wasting 1,000 years, he cherished his feathers and did not want any accidents to happen again. That was why he chatted with Fong Qingshan, while he secretly recovered, and once he was at his peak state, he would strike with lightning speed. Then do you know why I came here? Fong Qingshan asked, and without waiting for the dish to reply, he answered the question himself. I came here under the guidance of Immortal Ji Lo. Do you think you're more accurate, or the old man is more accurate? What? Immortal Ji Lo? Sure enough, just like the long couple, Pan Su could not help but exclaim when he heard the name, and he did not have time to recover. That's right. Otherwise, why do you think I came here to get the treasure? Fong Qingshan said calmly, and took out the blissful talisman. At first, Pan Su was still skeptical, thinking that Fong Qingshan seemed to be bluffing. However, when he saw the talisman in Fong Qingshan's hand, his pupils suddenly contracted, and a silver light like a lamp instantly enveloped him. The long couple could sense the heaven capital and bright river soared chi above, so naturally, Pan Su could. Especially 1,000 years ago, in Immortal Ji Li's heaven capital, the bright river sword was no less famous than the purple and green dual swords. Slaying demons and devils was even more well known, and it made people tremble in fear. Pan Su was someone who came from the peak of that era, so he naturally knew the power of this talisman. He even had to wait until he recovered to his peak state to attack Fong Qingshan, who was not even a rogue immortal. Now, this talisman could hurt anyone below the heaven immortal level, so he naturally would not take the risk. Taking a long look at Fong Qingshan, Pan Hun suddenly broke into a smile. So, little friend, you have received guidance from Immortal Ji Lu? No wonder, no wonder. Pan Su had a look of realization, and then said with some regret, It's a pity that I can't see my good friend return from his tribulation. It's a pity. Chapter 328. Sigh. Most of the things in life don't go your way. Being able to ascend is already a great thing. It's not good to force it. Pan Sha lamented to himself, then said to Fong Qingshan, Little friend, you have great luck and fortune. Young friend, you have great luck and fortune. Let's meet again in the spiritual immortal realm in the future. After that, Pan Sha did not give Fong Qingshan any time to react and immediately unleashed his aura. In the next moment, flowers fell from the sky, golden lotuses emerged from the ground, golden boys and jade ladies held incense burners and rui in their hands. Heavenly soldiers blew conches and beat drums, celebrating with the world. A mysterious and marvelous aura spread out from Pan Su's body. He had just broken through the seal, so his aura was still a little weak. But with the support of the world's origin force, it instantly became deep, simple, heavy, and unpredictable. It seemed like it took a long time, but it happened in the blink of an eye. Auspicious dragons and phoenixes, cloudy jade pool, and many other phenomena flashed past. A light pillar that was as warm as jade descended from the sky. One end of it covered Pan Sha, while the other end connected to a door in some unknown time and space. The celestial light, the door to the realm of immortals. Buzz. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, the immortal light withdrew, and the dish disappeared without a trace. If it was 1,000 years ago, and Fong Qingshan dared to ruin his plan, Pan Sha would teach Fong Qingshan a lesson even if he had to risk his karma. However, 1,000 years of training had worn down his will, and he no longer had that domineering aura. He knew that if he attacked with his full strength, Dao Master Ji Li's talisman might not be able to do anything to him, but he did not dare to take the risk. Not only did he not dare to attack himself, but he was also afraid that Fong Qingshan would be reckless and ruin his 1,000 years of cultivation. Therefore, he could not wait to ascend. After Pan Sha left, there was only a light green leather pouch left in the golden cauldron. The leather pouch was covered with fine scales and shone with green light. It was about 2 feet long, and it was not sealed. Fong Qingshan waved his hand and took it. Without looking at it, he turned around and left the golden cauldron. When he came outside, he saw the long couple standing at the entrance of the cave dwelling. They were trembling, as if they were going to run for their lives at the next moment. Seeing this situation, Fong Qingshan could not help but be stunned. Fong Daoist, inside. Before Fong Qingshan had a chance to ask any questions, Dong Yang pointed at the golden cauldron with a stuttering expression. Fong Qingshan raised his eyebrows and immediately understood what was going on. It turned out that not long after Fong Qingshan entered the golden cauldron, the long couple also finished refining the meridian yin-yang token. The two of them originally planned to enter the golden cauldron with Fong Qingshan to break the profound white gold essence qi as soon as possible and obtain the Tri-Yuan soul fortifying pill. However, at this moment, a vast and boundless aura suddenly emanated from the golden cauldron. It was as mighty as a prison, as vast as the mountains, and as vast as the seas. The long couple felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, as if they were carrying the blue sky on their backs. Their pupils constricted, and their faces were filled with shock. This aura was something that even Dong Yang's adoptive mother, one of the 2 elders of the great wilderness, could not compare to. Thinking back to the stone tablet on the first floor of the treasure vault, how could they not know that this was the birth of Pan Su? This was a bona fide sky immortal, and they had foiled his plans, which must have angered him. The 2 of them immediately thought of escaping. Fortunately, they still had the heart to not abandon Fong Qingshan and flee on their own. Don't worry, Pan Su has already ascended. Fong Qingshan chuckled and comforted them, then tossed the leather pouch in his hand. The Tri-Yuan soul fortifying pill is inside. Take it. Who? Hearing the first half of Fong Qingshan's words, the long couple couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. When they heard the second half, their eyes lit up and they hurriedly took the leather pouch and reached into it, taking out everything inside. There were 2 jet black gold bottles inside, and they were only a few inches tall. They clearly contained the Tri-Yuan soul fortifying pill. Long Xian was so excited that his hands trembled as he opened the bottle. In an instant, a refreshing fragrance wafted out. Fong Qingshan and Dong Yang were fine with it, but Long Xian was practically intoxicated. If it weren't for the fact that he knew that this wasn't a good place for seclusion, he would have swallowed it right away. After all, the long couple had waited far too long for him. The other was a Taoist book made of bamboo, and it had a total of 73 pages. Apart from the first 3 pages, which recorded the treasures in the treasure vault and the miraculous effects of the pill, the rest were all spirit talismans. The last page was an ancient script which recorded the relationship between Pan Luo and the Laughing Monk. All right, we have successfully completed the treasure hunt this time. The mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. Let's meet again. When Fang Qingshan saw the Long couple's agitated expressions and how they were unable to calm down even after a long time, he immediately took his leave. Wait! Dong Yang immediately became excited and patted Long Xian to wake him up. He then turned to Fang Qingshan and said apologetically, "It's all thanks to Fang Daoist that we were able to find the treasure this time. It's all thanks to fellow Fang that we were able to find the treasure this time. My wife and I aren't people who don't know what's good for us. Fellow Daoist, please make a copy of this heavenly scroll, and we'll split this talisman 50-50. There's no need." Fang Qingshan nodded inwardly at Dong Yang's words. In the end, this couple wasn't the greedy and cunning type. We've already agreed on this, so how could I ask for more? Besides, there's also an oath, so there's no need for Daoist to say anything more. Daoist, you're wrong. Long Xian regained his senses and heard the conversation between Fang Qingshan and Dong Yang. He immediately shook his ferocious dragon head and said solemnly to Fang Qingshan, "To be able to obtain the 3 primary soul fortifying pill, fellow Daoist has already given us a new lease on life. There's no need to mention giving away all these precious treasures. If we really enjoyed all of this with a clear conscience, would we still be human? Actually, the reason why the Long couple had done this at the very last moment was to apologize for not trusting Fang Qingshan earlier and almost abandoning him to escape. Moreover, it was to form a good relationship with him. After all, Fang Qingshan was talented and blessed. He was a proud son of the heavens, not to mention that he had enlightened Master Ji Lu standing behind him. As for the previous deal, Daoist, you don't have to worry about it. It's 2 different things." Long Xian smiled. "The deal is done. Now, we'll let you copy the heavenly book and collect the talismans. This is our gift, and it has nothing to do with the deal or the oath." "That's right. Daoist, just accept it. That way, we'll be more at ease, and we won't have any mental barriers in the future." Dong Yang added. This, sensing the intent in their fists, Fang Qingshan hesitated. The heavenly book wasn't important to him, but it could help him understand and broaden his horizons. The talismans were even more impressive. Although they couldn't compare to the talismans that enlightened Master Ji Lu had given him, they could reach the level of an itinerant immortal's normal attack. If he could obtain them, he would have a few more trump cards. "Daoist, if you don't accept them, are you looking down on us?" Seeing Fang Qingshan's reaction, Long Xian added fuel to the fire. "If that's the case, it would be impolite of me to refuse. Since things had come to this, what else could Fang Qingshan do? He could only accept it." Chapter 329. Iron Saber Gorge, the Crystal Palace. In a secret room, Fang Qingshan sat cross-legged, surrounded by the Tai 5 smokes net. In the end, everyone was happy in the treasure house. Fang Qingshan took 20 pages of the Pan Shi talisman and made a copy of the Pan Shi heavenly book. He obtained the great white profound gold essence. He even shared the fortune of the Long couple. As for the Long couple, not only did they obtain the 7 treasures of meat, they also obtained the 3 soul strengthening pill, the heavenly book, and the talisman. As for the talismans and the tomes of arcane that Fang Qingshan took away, it was not a loss to them. As for the talisman, it was only equivalent to an ordinary attack of a loose immortal. Although this loose immortal might be an expert of the same level, it was still of little value to the couple. As for the heavenly book, although Fang Qingshan had made a copy of it, the original copy was still there. Therefore, they didn't suffer too much loss, and because of this, they became friends with Fang Qingshan and indirectly became friends with Immortal Ji Lu. After leaving the Mirror Lake, everyone returned to the Crystal Palace. Fang Qingshan wanted to bid farewell, but the Long family's husband and wife urged him to stay. It was hard to refuse their kindness. Plus, Fang Qingshan was about to make a breakthrough, so Fang Qingshan stayed. After a round of celebration, singing, dancing, and toasting, the 3 of them went into seclusion at the same time. Long Xian was going to consume the tri-elemental soul fortifying pill to shed off his old body and turn back into a human. Dong Yang, on the other hand, needed to refine the meet 7 treasures and study the heavenly book in order to improve further. What about Fang Qingshan? When he had obtained the grand white metal essence in the golden cauldron, he had shown signs of a breakthrough. However, because it was not the right time and place, he had suppressed it. In the seclusion chamber, Fang Qingshan first took out the Tai 5 smoke net, both to add a layer of protection and to isolate it. One mustn't have the heart to harm others, but one mustn't lack the heart to guard against others. The heart is one of the 5 internal organs, located in the chest between the 2 lungs, above the diaphragm, and protected by the pericardium. Its shape was round and pointed at the bottom, like a lotus flower that had yet to bloom. The heart controlled the bloodline and contained the spirit. In the meridians of the body, the splendor is the face, the orifice is the tongue, the will is happiness, and the fluid is sweat. The 5 elements belong to the fire element, the yang of the yang. At this moment, the heaven fire spirit pearl was slowly being separated from the heaven fire spirit pearl and fusing into his heart. Dong, dong, dong. With the integration of the fire spirit pearl, Fang Qingshan's heartbeat grew stronger and stronger. It sounded like a bell and drum. Even his meridians, face, tongue, and willpower were all strengthened at the same time. If one were to sense it carefully, they would discover that a fire god was slowly condensing at the place where the spirit was stored in the heart. It had 3 heads and 6 arms, and it also had wind-fire wheels, fire gourd, fire seal, fire sword, fire bow, and other fire weapons. There was a red dot between its eyebrows that looked like a ball of fire. It was the fire spirit pearl. The lungs were located in the chest, one on each side, covering the heart. The throat is the gateway of the lungs, and the nose is the aperture of the lungs. In the skin of the body, the essence is in the hair, in the orifices is the nose, in the will is the sorrow, in the fluid is the snot. Among the 5 elements, metal was the element of yin within yang. At this moment, the grand white gold pearl was floating above the lungs. Wisps of grand white mystic gold essence, qi, entered the lungs bit by bit, transforming the lungs and the skin. At this moment, there was also a metal emperor forming in the lungs. It had a human face, tiger claws, white fur, and an axe. There was a snake in the left ear, riding 2 dragons. There was a bright dot between its eyebrows, like a sharp sword. It was the grand white gold pearl. The liver was located in the abdominal cavity, below the diaphragm, and inside the right side. In the muscles of the body, the essence is in the claws, in the orifices are the eyes, in the will is the anger, and the fluid is the tears. The 5 elements were wood, the element of yang within yin. The profound female pearl emitted a mysterious aura that enveloped the liver, transforming bit by bit. Green light spread along the liver to the tendons, the limbs, the eyes, and so on. A wood ancestor slowly condensed. It had the body of a bird and the face of a human, riding 2 dragons, and behind it was the supreme sky tree. There was a drop of emerald green between its eyebrows. It looked like a door, but it also looked like a tree root. It was the profound female pearl. The kidneys were located on each side of the spine, one on each side. The waist was the place of the kidneys, where essence was stored. In the body, the bones were connected, the marrow was formed, and the brain was connected. Its essence was in the hair, the orifices were the ears, and the 2 yin. The will was the fear, and the fluid was the saliva. The 5 elements were water, the element of yin within yin. The deep sea pearl floated in the air and split into 2, transforming into a vast ocean. The ocean flowed, silently nourishing the kidneys. The essence of water spread out, just like the profound female pearl, the fire spirit pearl, and the grand white gold pearl. It spread out from the 5 organs, transforming the body bit by bit. The deep sea pearl was different from other treasures. It had an artifact spirit. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan had the experience of refining the all-heaven sword and suppressing the great chaos thunder sword, so it was very easy. He used both carrot and stick to subdue the artifact spirit and stripped it away. That was why the deep-sea pearl did not rebel when it entered his body. It had the head of a python and the body of a human, covered in black scales. It stood on a black dragon, and a green python coiled around its hand. There was a drop of water between its eyebrows, and one could see the vast ocean. It was the deep-sea pearl. The spleen was located in the middle jiao, below the diaphragm, and to the left of the stomach. In the body, the muscles were the four limbs, the orifices were the mouth, the essence was the lips, the will was the thought, and the fluid was the saliva. The five elements were earth, the element of een within een. The western bead of merit emitted waves of earthy yellow spiritual chi and entered it. The four limbs and other parts connected to the spleen all emitted a virtuous and immovable aura. A yellow emperor appeared. He had a human body and a snake tail. He had 7 arms on his back and 2 arms on his chest. He held a flying serpent in both hands. There was a smear of gold between his eyebrows. It was a bead of merit and virtue. As the spirit bead of 5 elements fused into the 5 organs, it began to spread from the 5 organs to the whole body, tempering and transforming bit by bit. Fang Qingshan's body also began to transform bit by bit. Fang Qingshan had originally reached the peak of 10,000 years and cultivated an undying body because he had consumed the longevity fruit and broken through to the longevity mystic realm. At this moment, the deep-sea pearl and the other 4 high-grade Tao-level treasures fused into Fang Qingshan's body. This was a set of 5 elemental attributes. In an instant, his body underwent a qualitative change. The 5 elements treasures have fused into my body. My primordial spirit is immortal, and I have an undying body. Today's achievement. At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly let out a long roar. The 5 high-grade Tao treasures had completely fused with his body. Boom! In the next moment, Fang Qingshan's body suddenly disintegrated, turning into countless fine needles that flickered with 5-colored light. It was as if Fang Qingshan had used the 5 elements God exterminating needles. Within it, rings of light flickered. The 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other. They vibrated, shuttled, and lingered. An undying aura from the undead was growing within. Boom! Another loud sound rang out. All of the fine needles converged into a ball, forming Fang Qingshan's figure once again. His entire body was made of colored glass, perfect and flawless. He wore a robe that looked like a Taoist robe or an emperor's robe. It looked as if it was woven from 5 colored clouds, and his eyes reflected the sun, moon, stars, and the 5 elements of fate. His tyrannical power was more than 10 times stronger than before he had broken through. Undying body, rebirth from a single drop of blood. Although Fang Qingshan's breakthrough was not a normal case of overflowing water, he relied on the 5 high-grade Tao artifact-level treasures fusing into his body. Moreover, they were all of the 5 elements that were compatible with his Tao. Not only did it not shake his foundation, it even strengthened it further. Chapter 330. Mount Baiyang. Although it was not a famous mountain or a blessed place, it was still quite extraordinary. The peaks were beautiful, the mountains were clean, the clouds were deep, and the mist was like a lotus flower. There was also the white sun immortal who stayed here, leaving behind the rainflower cave and the white sun diagram. This was the top Taoist foundation building method, not inferior to a Mei, Wudong, and Kunlun. There was also a needle technique and 2 boxes of foundation building treasures comparable to the 10,000-year hollow azurite. On this day, a colorful light flew by and a person landed. It was Fang Qingshan. After breaking through the undying realm in the Iron Knife Gorge, Fang Qingshan planned to bid farewell to the long couple. However, the 2 of them had just obtained the Heavenly Book magic treasure, so they were still in seclusion. Fang Qingshan thought about it and did not disturb the 2 of them. He left the Crystal Palace after saying a few words to the servants. At this point, Fang Qingshan's purpose of coming to Shu Mountain had been successfully achieved, and there was not much time left before he left. Fang Qingshan thought about it and decided to take advantage of the last bit of time to make a fortune and then leave immediately. Once this idea formed in his mind, it spread wildly and could not be stopped. After looking at the treasures all over Shu Mountain, Fang Qingshan finally targeted the holy mausoleum of Qiaoshan. The reason for this was naturally the two treasures, the Haotian treasured mirror and the 9 Doubts cauldron. Of course, the reason why Fang Qingshan coveted these two magic treasures was not because of their high grade. Otherwise, the golden lotus Buddha seat in Daxiong's treasure vault was also a treasure. Why didn't he know the way? The reason was that these two treasures were of irreplaceable help to Fang Qingshan. Now that Fang Qingshan had broken through the undying body, the next step was to comprehend space and break through the grotto heaven realm. Fang Qingshan cultivated the instant kill technique, the greater teleportation technique, the greater slicing technique, the greater demolition technique, the void escape sword technique, and other magical powers related to space. He already had a good understanding of space. But if he was able to obtain a spatial treasure and comprehend it at all times, then he would naturally be like a fish in water and achieve twice the results with half the effort. As for the clear sky treasured mirror, it was known as the Great Void Divine Mirror by the Taoists. It was a supreme treasure from the ancient times. In the ancient times, an unknown expert had imitated the Jade Emperor's supreme treasure, the clear sky treasured mirror. The Haotian mirror was the treasure that Daozu had given to the Jade Emperor in Hongjun to investigate the 3 realms. In the 3 realms, there was no place that the Haotian mirror could not see, from the 33 heavens to the 18 levels of hell, the Western Buddhist land, and the Eastern Grotto heaven. Although the Haotian treasured mirror was not as good as the primordial spiritual treasure, it was still a rare spatial treasure. If Fang Qingshan could get it and observe it from time to time, not only would he be able to shorten the time needed to break through to the Grotto Heaven realm, but he would also be able to improve the power of all spatial techniques. As for the 9 Doubts furnace, that was a supreme treasure that Fang Qingshan had prepared in order to help him break into the World King realm in the future. The so-called World King realm was to open up a world, just like the primordial world of the people of Hongjun Tiandao, or revered immortal Ling Long's Ling Long Great Overarching Heaven. However, there were 2 ways to open up a world. One was to find a spatial node of the boundless world, open up a world, and then stabilize the space. But if that was the case, the world could only stay where it was. If one wanted to carry it with him, he would need to slowly separate it from the boundless world. The amount of effort needed was no less than opening up a world. The other way was to find a heavenly treasure that contained space-time to open up a world. In this way, as long as he succeeded, he would be able to bring the minor kiliocosm with him. Whether it was for attack or defense, it would be supported by the power of the world. In fact, the inner world of a peerless Tao artifact was a minor kiliocosm. However, this minor kiliocosm required many heavenly materials and treasures, and it would take hundreds or even thousands of years to slowly evolve. In the 9 Doubts cauldron, there was a connate life, chaotic nascent embryo. This thing was chaotic, but it contained space-time and various laws. It was the best choice to open up a minor kiliocosm. If Fang Qingshan could open up a world with this and become a world king, not only would the power of the world he obtained be above the primordial world of the people of Hongjun Tiandao, but the most important thing was that it was not something that he could compare with. It was not impossible for him to create a minor kiliocosm in the future. Therefore, even though Fang Qingshan knew that if he touched these 2 treasures, even perfected blissful would not speak up for him, and might even capture him personally, he still decided to make a fortune at the last moment. After all, he was not a native of Shu Mountain. As long as he got the treasures, he would leave immediately. Given the distance between eternal life and Shu Mountain, without a treasure like the celestial chessboard, even a golden immortal would not be able to find him. As for the 9 Doubts cauldron and the Haotian treasured mirror, which were originally in the Yellow Emperor's tomb, and why Fang Qingshan came to Mount White Sun, there were 2 reasons. One was that the holy mausoleum of Qiao Mountain was sealed by the 9 spiritual talismans of the Holy Emperor, and the outside of the mausoleum was sealed by the spiritual talismans of the 16 true immortals who visited the mausoleum for generations. With all these restrictions and seals, it was more than twice as powerful as the seal in Daxiong's treasury. Moreover, because of the 9 Doubts Cauldron and the Hao Yin treasured mirror, there were more people paying attention to this place. Immortal Nun Fenta, perfected blissful, and so on were all giants. Even if Fang Qingshan had the escape technique and the minor destiny technique, if he entered from the front, it would consume too much energy and cause too much commotion. He was afraid that before he could find the Hao Yin treasured mirror, the powerhouses of Shu Mountain would have already followed him. Moreover, there was more than one path to the mausoleum. Why should he give up the weak for the strong? Speaking of the second path, this Mount White Sun had to be mentioned. Other than perfected White Sun's Rainflower Cave, there was another ancient tomb on this mountain, which was located in the Mount White Sun Cliff Mausoleum. In this ancient tomb, the people buried could be traced back to the era of the ancient 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, the Wuhua father and son. These 2 people could be considered to be people with great fortune. After dying for an unknown number of years, they could still be resurrected. Moreover, the 2 of them, together with the ancient demon corpse Qiongqi, took advantage of the fact that the effects of the divine talisman of the Saint Emperor had already worn off for a full 4,221 years. They passed through the yellow soil and opened up a path along the veins of the earth, directly into the Yellow Emperor's mausoleum. Not only did they avoid the restrictions on the periphery, it was much safer, and they would not alarm others. It was much more secretive. What Fang Qingshan needed to do now was to follow this path and be one step ahead of the father and son. He just happened to have the earth-piercing divine needle in hand. He could pass through the mountains and escape through the earth, and it was always successful. However, if Fang Qingshan wanted to intercept the treasure, he naturally had to hide it from the ancient demon corpse Qiongqi and the Wuhua father and son. Otherwise, once they were alarmed, he would beat the grass and alert the snake. Even if he had the heaven-devouring demon emperor and Fan Qingying by his side, unless he used the blissful talisman, he really could not do anything to them. If that was all, then it was fine. But if he delayed obtaining the treasure and alarmed those powerful people in Shushan, or if the time of the time freeze was up, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan also knew the great concealment technique. Combining it with the concealment techniques recorded in many heavenly tomes, his concealment technique was greatly refined. If he wanted to hide from the people in the ancient tomb, he only needed to be a little careful. Chapter 331. In a righteous illumination valley, the trees and mountains shone brightly. In the White Sun Mountain, under the White Sun Cliff, in front of Wu Hua's ancient tomb, Fang Qingshan carefully used the great lurking technique and snuck in. In an instant, his vision darkened, and even his spiritual sense seemed to be affected. Fang Qingshan's heart skipped a beat, and he became even more careful. In the ancient tomb, there was no daylight all year round, and it was a dangerous place that gathered in and nurtured evil spirits. From time to time, there would be the sound of water dripping, making it even more eerie and terrifying. If it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to last for long. Even if they were not intimidated by the atmosphere, they would die from the yin energy entering their body. Luckily, Fang Qingshan was not an ordinary person. Even though this environment suppressed him due to the gathering of yin and evil spirits, it was still normal. The only thing that he had to be careful of was the Wuhua father and son, as well as Qiongqi, one of the 4 ancient beasts. Along the way, Fang Qingshan tried his best to restrain his aura. Thus, he managed to get through the daunting experience without any mishaps. Coincidentally, at this moment, someone suddenly blocked his way. Fang Qingshan was startled and almost subconsciously swung the all-heaven sword in his hand. Luckily, he was still rational and forcefully suppressed the thought of attacking. Looking closely, it was not a human, but a bird. And this bird was a little strange. Even though its aura was strong, it seemed to be there and not there. Fang Qingshan frowned and suddenly remembered that in this ancient tomb, other than the Wuhua father and son, there was also a divine dove. Speaking of which, the divine dove was the biggest accomplice of the Wuhua father and son to run amok and 100 savages. But the justice of the heavens was clear, and the retribution was not pleasant. After the ancient times, the cultivation of the beasts was filled with hardships. No one knew when it started, but the godly dove that shocked the world in the past suddenly fell ill. It was barely breathing, but it closed its eyes all day long, as if it was about to die. The father and son of the Wuhua clan tried so hard and used so many miraculous medicines, but they could not save it. It could only hang on to its last breath. When the Wuhua father and son died, even though some people envied the power of the divine dove, they were more afraid of its cruelty. After thinking about it, they decided to go all out and bury the divine dove and the Wuhua father and son together in the ancient tomb. Actually, the divine dove was not suffering from some strange disease. It had just eaten a celestial stalk and was in a drunken stupor. Not only did it not die, but it also understood what was going on. For the past many years, he had been meditating and cultivating diligently. When the time came, he would immediately recover. Compared to before, he was more than 10 times stronger. It was just that his body was stiff and he couldn't fly or pounce. Memories of the divine dove flashed through Fang Qingshan's mind. He stealthily moved a certain distance away from the divine dove and retracted his aura. After carefully observing the divine dove, he heaved a sigh of relief. Shen Jiu hadn't noticed him, and he was still meditating. As long as he was careful and didn't cause a huge commotion, he wouldn't wake up. Only then did Fang Qingshan relax. He boldly walked past Shen Jiu and entered the bedroom. In an ancient tomb, there should be no life except for yin qi, death qi, evil qi, and other kinds of filthy qi. However, after Fang Qingshan entered the inner chamber, he suddenly smelled a strange scent. He knew that it should be the life energy that had flowed into the tomb after the Wuhua father and son opened up the earth veins. Fang Qingshan followed this life energy and came to a huge tunnel. Without hesitation, he immediately stepped in. No wonder the Wuhua father and son could avoid the restrictions and enter the Saint Emperor's tomb. They had indeed passed through the yellow soil and opened up the earth veins. Fang Qingshan followed the tunnel and walked for thousands of miles. He was almost close to the earth's core. Dong! 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 At this moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly heard the sound of rocks being cut in front of him. He knew that the Wuhua father and son were opening up the earth veins. Cautiously approaching, he could see from afar 2 huge zombies that were dozens of feet tall. Their entire bodies were left with only their skeletons. They had 2 strange eyes that were like torches, flickering with red light. One of them was wielding a giant axe and was using all his strength to carve a hole in the ground. This place was close to the earth's core, and the rock was as hard as ordinary defensive Dharma treasures. It was only because of the 2's talent and the zombies' natural ability to control the earth that they could use 2 axes to cut up such a huge project over the years. At this moment, Rong Dun, who was cutting up the tunnel ahead, suddenly exclaimed. He turned his huge head and looked in the direction where Fang Qingshan was. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan did not want to fight the Wuhua father and son head-on, so he only took a glance and carefully retreated. Now that he saw Rong Dun wake up, he could not help but feel lucky. "What's wrong?" Wuhua asked. "I feel the presence of a living person," Rong Dun said in a low voice. "A living person? How is that possible?" Wuhua was also shocked when he heard that. He quickly sensed carefully, but did not find anything. "There's nothing. Did you sense wrongly?" "Maybe." Rong Dun shook his head. He was not so sure and asked, "How much longer until this tunnel is opened?" "Soon. In about half a month, we will be able to open the tunnel to the sacred emperor's tomb. Then, we can take out the sacred emperor's treasure. The world is big, and we will be able to do whatever we want." Wuhua cheered him on and said with longing in her voice, When that time comes, we will rebuild the country, and we might be able to recreate the ancient Golden Age. Rongdun also imagined that the father and son would be like the ancient sacred emperor, ruling the world separately. At this moment, the two of them could not help but be more motivated. The clanking went on endlessly. This went on for half a day before the two of them returned to the ancient tomb. Just after the father and son left the tunnel, a shadow quietly slipped in. Fang Qingshan followed the tunnel and once again came to the place where the Wuhua father and son dug. He waved his hand and took out the earth-piercing needle. With a push of his mana, a flying snake appeared from the needle. It opened its mouth and sucked, swallowing Fang Qingshan into its stomach. With a swing of its tail, it slithered in the direction the Wuhua father and son had dug. Sure enough, there was a limit to one's knowledge. The Wuhua father and son did not know how many years it took for them to open this tunnel, but with the earth-piercing needle, it easily melted stone and metal. It was more than 100 times faster. Buzz! At a certain moment, the earth-piercing needle suddenly shook, and its momentum was stopped. Fang Qingshan raised an eyebrow. He did not forcefully break through, but put away the earth-piercing needle, because he remembered that when the Wuhua father and son first broke through the sacred emperor's tomb, they did not directly enter the inner chamber to obtain the treasure. Instead, they came to the palace of Qiongqi, one of the 4 fierce beasts suppressed by the yellow Emperor Xinyuan. Sure enough, when Fang Qingshan looked carefully, he noticed that even with the restriction talisman, a monstrous, ferocious aura still came over, and he could even faintly hear roars by his ears. Chapter 332. Destiny Communication. Destiny descends. Void escape. Guide the way. Fang Qingshan shook her head and ignored the restriction in front of her. Instead, she changed her direction and cast the little destiny art. The Wuhua father and son could accidentally open the serene palace and the inner chamber of the Saint Emperor's tomb, but Fang Qingshan wasn't sure if she would have the same luck. If she made a mistake and triggered the other restrictions, she would be in big trouble. One must know that the Saint Emperor's tomb didn't just contain the 4 evils of heaven and earth like Qiongqi. There were also the 9 talismans of the Saint Emperor and the talismans of the 16 true immortals who visited the tomb. There were also 49 innate mother-child divine crossbows. In the original work, Yang Jin had to spend 49 days to craft a divine talisman of great creation when he was retrieving the treasure. Only then was he able to escape unscathed. Although Fang Qingshan had the Tai 5 smoke net, the 5-cloud peach blossom miasma, and the 5 elements halo, he didn't want to try the crossbow's attack. There were also the terracotta soldiers that guarded the mausoleum, armed with halberds and bows. They were not to be trifled with either. If he dug in the wrong direction and alerted them, it would be troublesome. Regardless of whether he could deal with them, he would definitely alert the Wuhua father and son, and even the Bliss, Fendua, and the others. Then, his plan might fail at the last step. Therefore, for safety's sake, Fang Qingshan decided to cast the little destiny art and use the art of escape to find the right path. She didn't believe that the Wuhua father and son could accidentally find the right direction with the help of the power of destiny and the art of escape. As expected, the little destiny art and the art of escape did not disappoint Fang Qingshan. Fate, 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 50 great Daos, 49 heavenly evolutions, escape as one. Following Fang Qingshan's divine ability, 2 completely different yet equally regal and noble auras abruptly descended. One was the power of destiny through destiny communication. The other was the art of escape that was comparable to Hongjun Tiandao. The 2 powers intertwined, strengthened, mixed, and spread. It was indescribable, supreme, and mysterious. Buzz! At a certain moment, the 2 forces suddenly fused together, turning into an arrow that pointed in a certain direction. Fang Qingshan's eyes immediately lit up. Found it! As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Qingshan was ready to take out the divine needle again and flee in the designated direction. Taoist, please wait. Right at this moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly heard a soft cry by his ear, and he staggered and almost fell to the ground. The effect of this sentence was too shocking. Back then, during the God Conferment battle, Shun Gongbao had relied on these words to drag those from the Jie school who wanted to avoid the calamity into it. They were either killed or crippled, and they were extremely ferocious. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan knew that this was Mount Shu, not Fengshan. He calmed himself down and looked towards the source of the voice, only to discover that the source of the voice was actually the serene palace where Qiongqi was sealed. It turned out that when Fang Qingshan opened the passage to the secluded palace's restriction, he had already alerted Qiongqi. After being sealed by the Sage Emperor for so many years, Qiongqi's dusty heart immediately burned with passion when he saw the day where he could escape. However, at this moment, Fang Qingshan actually stopped in his tracks and changed directions. This almost made Qiongqi spit out a mouthful of blood, seeing the duck that was already in his mouth fly away. And this matter concerned whether he could survive or not. How could Qiongqi be willing to give up? Fortunately, over the years he had been sealed here, he had encountered too many restrictions and formations, and knew every inch of space here like the back of his hand. Especially in recent years, for some reason, the restrictions of the Sage Emperor's tomb had begun to weaken. Although Qiongqi could not break through the formation and leave by himself, he had discovered some flaws and could send some messages out. Therefore, seeing that Fang Qingshan was about to leave, Qiongqi immediately called out to Fang Qingshan by following the flaws in the formation. "You called me." Fang Qingshan originally planned to ignore it, but after thinking about it, he stopped and spoke to Qiongqi behind the restriction. "Yes, yes, yes." Qiongqi nodded repeatedly and said yes 3 times. From this, one could see just how excited he was. Cultivators did not keep track of years, and a single secluded cultivation could last hundreds or even thousands of years. But who knew how many tens of thousands of years had passed since the primordial era? Especially since this was not secluded cultivation, but being suppressed. If it was anyone else, they would have gone crazy. So when Qiongqi saw Fang Qingshan, he saw the hope of escaping and was in such a hurry. "I am Qiongqi. I committed a grave mistake and was suppressed. My life was hanging by a thread, but the Sage Emperor was merciful and spared my life." Qiongqi spoke half-truthfully. "You just sealed me in the Saint Emperor's mausoleum, saying that someone would open a path through the veins of the earth and save me. I hope you can lend me a hand, fellow Taoist. I'll be eternally grateful and will never forget it." "You are Qiongqi?" If it were not for the fact that Fang Qingshan knew what was going on, he might have had some doubts. But he had the foresight and knew that Qiongqi's words were mixed with lies. But he did not expose Qiongqi and went along with it. "This time, I came to the Sage Emperor's tomb to obtain treasures under the guidance of a senior expert. He said that there was a Qiongqi among them and wanted me to bring it out. So it was you." It's me. Although Qiongqi found Fang Qingshan's words strange, he knew that it was beneficial to him and nodded repeatedly. "Then hand over a wisp of your natal primordial spirit," Fang Qingshan said directly. "Natal primordial spirit?" Qiongqi's excitement seemed to have been doused with a bucket of cold water. If he handed over his natal primordial spirit, he would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. "Taoist, you must be joking." Qiongqi's voice was heavy with a hint of anger. "Joking? I don't have time to joke with you," Fang Qingshan said calmly. "That senior told me that it's easy to change mountains and rivers, but it's hard to change a person's nature, especially since Qiongqi is one of the 4 great primordial beasts. If I can't control him and he escapes, he will definitely bring disaster to the world." No, Qiongqi retorted after hearing Fang Qingshan's words. "I have been suppressed in the Sage Emperor's tomb and have been influenced by the Sage Emperor day and night. I have already turned over a new leaf." "Is that so?" Fang Qingshan replied in a non-committal manner, then said, "Unfortunately, I only believe in myself. Also, the senior said that if you don't want to and try to escape, he will activate the formations in the tomb to kill you. Otherwise, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering after you escape." At this point, Fang Qingshan's voice turned cold and filled with murderous intent. Without another word, he first used the Tai 5 smoky net to seal off the passage. Then, he raised his hand and slashed at the seals in the palace. In an instant, all the restrictions in the Serene Palace were like dominoes, causing a chain reaction and exploding at the same time. Chapter 333. Killing intent was revealed, and the entire space was instantly filled with the sound of killing. Fang Qingshan was just standing outside the formation, but he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. As for Qiongqi, who was in the formation, he was exhausted from running around. Thunder rumbled like dragons. Heavenly fire bloomed like phoenixes. Wind blades, frost swords, black tortoise. The roars of dragons and phoenixes were deafening. Fortunately, this formation only targeted the inside of the formation and not the outside. This was also the reason why the father and son could easily break into the Serene Palace and release Qiongqi. At this moment, Qiongqi was extremely unlucky. Ever since it was suppressed in the tomb, Qiongqi was unwilling to give up and would attack the formation from time to time, trying to break free. However, it was just wishful thinking. In the end, not only did it fail to break the formation, it was also heavily injured. Moreover, this place isolated spirit chi and could not replenish it at all. If it wasn't for the fact that it was a natural ferocious beast with shocking defense and strong self-recovery, it would have been crushed into pieces long ago. Right now, it could be said that Qiongqi was at its weakest. Although the formation was not as powerful as when it was at its peak, it still attacked at full force and caught Qiongqi off guard. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan had only touched the array slightly. Otherwise, if this had continued, he might have really died. What do you think? After the formation stopped, Fang Qingshan asked calmly. If it could, Qiongqi wanted to swallow Fang Qingshan. What do you think? Do I have a choice now? At this moment, Qiongqi was filled with regret. Why did he call out to him when he had left earlier on? If she didn't stop him, although she would still be trapped, there was no telling when someone would accidentally break through the restriction and let her out. And now, even if he wanted to let Fang Qingshan leave, it would probably be impossible. There were only two paths in front of Qiongqi. One was to hand over a strand of his primordial spirit and be under Fang Qingshan's control. The other was to be activated by Fang Qingshan and be refined to death. It was better to live than to die. Even with Qiongqi's pride, it could only lower its head. Following the flaw of the restriction, Qiongqi endured the pain and handed over a wisp of his primordial spirit. All right, looking at the mini version of Qiongqi in his hand, Fang Qingshan was overjoyed. Qiongqi was one of the four great ferocious beasts of the ancient times. At its peak, its cultivation base was not much weaker than bliss. Right now, even if he was a dragon in the shallows or a tiger in the plains, he wouldn't be any weaker than Long Xian. He had the cultivation of an itinerant immortal. After subduing him, not only would he obtain a generous amount of luck, but he would also obtain a powerful fighter and a life-saving trump card. Fang Qingshan made a series of hand seals towards Qiongqi's Yuan Shun. Whether it was the Heisha wondrous scripture, the heavenly book of intercourse of flesh, or even the primordial scripture, all of them had methods to imprison one's primordial spirit. Fang Qingshan was merely copying them. In just a short while, the miniature version of Qiongqi was already wrapped in dense runes. As long as Fang Qingshan willed it, he would be able to annihilate Qiongqi. Break. After keeping this strand of primordial spirit, Fang Qingshan took out the Sword of Heavens and destroyed the restrictive spells of the palace. Buzz. Following that, he saw a dim light shooting towards him at lightning speed, bringing with it a torrential fiendish aura. Fang Qingshan was already prepared for this move. With a thought, the runes on the strand of primordial spirit that was kept under the chessboard of heavens suddenly tightened. Following that, Qiongqi let out a blood-curdling scream. The dim light landed not far from Fang Qingshan and turned into Qiongqi's figure. At this moment, Qiangqi no longer had the prestige of one of the four great ferocious beasts. It was in so much pain that it was gritting its teeth and scurrying away like a rat. Its candle-like eyes flickered nonstop as though it was going to be extinguished at the next moment. Stop, stop, stop! Qiangqi begged for mercy while enduring the band-tightening curse's pain. I won't dare to do it again. Oomph. I hope you can keep your words. Fang Qingshan snorted coldly and stopped. All right, go and stay with the heaven-devouring evil emperor and the rest. With a wave of his hand, Fang Qingshan sent Xiongqi into the space of the world tree. Looks like I have to find a chance to purify it completely. Fang Qingshan narrowed his eyes. He didn't sense any sincerity or fear in Xiongqi's eyes. There was still a hint of fierceness, clearly ready to devour its master at any moment. Fang Qingshan wasn't surprised by this. After all, it was one of the four great ferocious beasts. If it hadn't been suppressed in the Saint Emperor tomb for so many years, he wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it. In the Saint Emperor tomb, Fang Qingshan only coveted the clear sky treasured mirror and the 9 doubts cauldron, but he unexpectedly subdued Qiongqi. Although it was only a temporary suppression, it would definitely devour him when Xiongqi found a chance or recovered its cultivation. However, it depended on whether Fang Qingshan would give it a chance or not. Fang Qingshan was in a good mood, but he also knew that he didn't have much time left. Without any delay, he followed the correct path that he had previously found through the escape art of fate. He took out the earth-piercing needle and went in. After opening the passage and arriving at the door of the inner chamber, Fang Qingshan put away the earth-piercing needle and secretly used the escape art to avoid the restrictive mechanisms. After all, there were 49 innate 1-Chi mother-child divine crossbows lying in ambush in front of the door. Entering the inner chamber, he immediately smelled a refreshing fragrance. Fang Qingshan knew that it was the smell of the 10,000-year lamp oil. Upon closer inspection, he saw that it occupied a large area and was square in shape. The 4 walls were engraved with many battle scars. In front of him was a stone table that was dozens of feet long, and on it were sacrificial vessels such as cups and cauldrons. On the ground in front of the table, there were 9 large cauldrons. On both sides of the table, there was a large oil cauldron, and in each cauldron was a 10,000-year lamp. The lamp oil was mostly still, and the flames were evenly distributed. Although Fang Qingshan knew that the human emperor's cultivation was high and that after completing his merit, he hid in the human race's holy land, the Fire Cloud Cave, to guard his destiny, this was just a cenotaph. However, as a descendant of the Yellow Emperor, Fang Qingshan came before the Saint Emperor's true spirit and bowed with reverence. Disciple Fang Qingshan has disturbed the Saint Emperor's rest today. Please forgive me. After bowing respectfully, Fang Qingshan focused his attention on the Saint Emperor's throne. He saw a simple and unadorned treasure mirror with a strong aura. There was a green light rippling in the mirror, flickering indefinitely. As he focused, he saw further and further away. Inside, there was a rain of flowers and golden clouds. Wind, cloud, water, and fire all appeared in the golden clouds, changing at any moment. To be able to counter the 9 doubts cauldron, the principles of yin and yang were extremely ingenious. Its material was neither gold nor jade, and it was very heavy. There were tadpole-like ancient seals on its back, as well as images of cloud dragons and mystical birds. It seemed to bulge, but there was no trace of it when touched. It was neither carved nor drawn, and it went deep into the bone. Fang Qingshan knew that this was his main goal in coming here, the spatial treasure, the clear sky treasured mirror. It was unknown whether the person who placed the magic treasure thought that no one would dare to be impudent in the Saint Emperor's tomb, or whether it was left for a fated person. There was no mirror installed on the clear sky treasured mirror. Fang Qingshan used the mixed essence Qi 5 elements Great Qi Na hand and easily plucked it. Chapter 334. The clear sky mirror was worthy of being a space treasure. As soon as Fang Qingshan held in his hand, even though he hadn't refined it yet. All the space powers in his body, such as the great cutting art, the great demolition art, and the great teleportation art, started vibrating simultaneously, as if they were resonating with the clear sky mirror. Great, with this treasure, it won't take long for me to advance to the grotto heaven realm. Feeling the changes in his body, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but rejoice. He didn't care that he didn't have the 9 Doubts cauldron in his hand, so he immediately started practicing. Space teleportation, space cutting, space destruction, space devouring, space evolving. As Fang Qingshan refined it, runes containing the spatial trueness intent flowed through Fang Qingshan's mind. The spatial techniques in his body started ringing, including bells, drums, zither, and wind. The 8 sounds entered his ears and shook his soul. The sound of bells and drums rang together. Just as Fang Qingshan held the Haotian treasure mirror in his hand, Blissful, Fundua, and the others all sensed it. However, they thought that it was Wu Hua and his son who opened the tunnel and took the treasure, so they didn't pay much attention to it. That was the original plan. Only perfected Blissful felt that something was wrong. If it was in the past, he would still try his best to calculate it. But now, after Fang Qingshan's advice, he had already accepted it. At the same time, in the tomb of Wu Hua at the foot of Mount White Sun, Wu Hua and his son felt uneasy, as if they sensed that an important opportunity had left them. At the same time, the tribulation chi that gathered above their heads started to dissipate. If they had held back their greed and didn't steal the Haotian treasure mirror, their calamity would have disappeared. Unfortunately, humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. Did my son sense anything? Wu Hua frowned and asked in a deep voice, "Is it the same for father?" Rongdun looked at Wu Hua in shock. After a moment of silence, the two looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Is there something wrong with the Saint Emperor tomb? For the two of them, the greatest opportunity was naturally to obtain treasures from the Holy Emperor's tomb. If there was any important opportunity lost, it would definitely be here. The two of them couldn't help but recall the unfamiliar life force they sensed when they were digging the tunnel today. In the beginning, they thought that there was something wrong with their senses. Now, how could they not know that someone had quietly snuck in? Not good. Thinking of that, the two of them cried out in surprise at the same time. Then, they activated Earth Escape and burrowed into the tunnel at lightning speed. What a thief! Wu Hua father and son entered the tunnel and very quickly came to the last place they dug for the day. Seeing that there were indeed traces of new digging, they were instantly enraged, and without thinking, they chased in. Buzz! While Fang Qingshan was immersed in the space power Upanishad, he was woken up by an alarm. Although he had taken away the Tai 5 smokes net that he had set up in the tunnel, he had still set up a warning formation. This formation couldn't be attacked or defended, and it was very well hidden. The Wu Hua father and son didn't notice it and activated it, which alerted Fang Qingshan. Damn it! Fang Qingshan cursed inwardly. Being immersed in the profound mysteries of the laws of space was like being soaked in a hot spring and suddenly being kicked into the cold wind. That feeling was as terrible as it could get. Converging his mind, Fang Qingshan knew that the most urgent thing at the moment was to take away the 9 Doubts cauldron, and then immediately leave Shushan and return to the immortal world. There was plenty of time to comprehend it slowly. Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan waved his hand and put the Haotian treasured mirror into his Naiwan palace. It floated between his eyebrows, and then he looked at the 9 cauldrons in front of the emperor's coffin. He knew that the Juduan cauldron was among them. The 9 cauldrons were lined up in a row. They were 8 feet tall and were completely golden in color. On them, there were pictures of beasts, dragons and phoenixes, animals, clouds and thunder, fire, geometry, and so on. There were also a lot of ancient scripts with strange shapes and dazzling colors. The other cauldrons were fine, but one of them had a strange beast squatting on its lid. It had the head of a cow, the body of a snake, the nose of an elephant, and the tail of a lion. It had 6 legs and 4 wings, and its front legs were raised high, while its back legs were gradually lowered. It looked extremely ferocious. The lid of the cauldron was not big, but the monster was ferocious and wanted to fly. On the belly of the cauldron were the shapes of all kinds of things, from heaven and earth, mountains and rivers, wind and rain, to the sun, moon, stars, flying plants, monsters and evil spirits that had never been seen before, small insect scales. All of them were there. There were so many things in the sky that they were innumerable. They were not only vivid and lively, but they were also constantly changing. Every time they were seen, they were all different. The various forms that appeared were all-inclusive, like the grains of sand in the Ganges River. There was no end to them. Fang Qingshan knew that this was the Nine Doubts Cauldron. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound suddenly erupted outside the inner chamber. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was the sound of a bow and arrow being fired. Fang Qingshan knew that the father and son of the Wuhua clan did not know what was going on and had undoubtedly touched the 49 innate mother and child divine crossbows of the door. Each arrow was about 10 feet long, and the entire shaft was shining with a black light. The vermilion steel feathers set off the brilliance, and its form was strange and ancient. The arrow hilt emitted a golden light the size of a bowl. The arrowhead did not reach the end, and the light was red like fire. Although the arrow was not a magical treasure, however, it was also forged from the best of bronze and metal from ancient times, and its power was immense. However, Fang Qingshan knew that the father and son of the Wuhua clan were thick-skinned and had some tricks up their sleeves. Although they would be stopped by the innate mother and child divine crossbows, they would not lose their lives. He still had to hurry. Thinking about this, Fang Qingshan immediately stretched out his hand and grabbed towards the Nine Doubts Cauldron. However, this Nine Doubts Cauldron was different from the Haotian treasure mirror. It was unknown whether the treasure had its own spirituality or something else, but it actually resisted. The Nine Doubts Cauldron trembled slightly, and the various patterns engraved on the cauldron immediately seemed to come to life, showing a world of emptiness. It could be real if it said it was real, it could be fake if it said it was fake, and it could be created and destroyed as one wished. It held up Fang Qingshan's big hand tightly. Then, the lid of the cauldron trembled, and a small gap was opened. Countless golden stars and red threads flew out from the cauldron, like a violent wind sweeping up snow and a whirlpool. With a gentle stir, they engulfed Fang Qingshan's mixed elements, Qi 5 elements capturing hand, and continued to roll towards Fang Qingshan without losing any momentum. "How dare you?" Fang Qingshan said softly, and the Haotian treasure mirror appeared between his eyebrows. A ray of divine light suddenly shot out from the surface of the mirror, hitting the Nine Doubts Cauldron. Buzz! The next moment, all the strange phenomena of the Nine Doubts Cauldron disappeared, as if nothing had happened. The Haotian treasure mirror was not only a spatial treasure, but also like water and fire, yin and yang. It could restrain the Nine Doubts Cauldron. Holding the Nine Doubts Cauldron in his hand, Fang Qingshan did not immediately refine it. Instead, he directly communicated with the celestial chessboard, and a ray of light sprinkled down. It was like the celestial light when meat was ascending. With a sweep, it disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the father and son of the Wuhua clan had passed through the innate mother and child divine crossbows and entered the inner chamber. Seeing this scene, they were instantly furious, but there was nothing they could do. Chapter 335. Buzz. Immortal world. Outside exquisite paradise. Thousands of miles among the astral winds of the nine heavens. At a certain moment, the astral wind suddenly stopped, as if time and space had stopped. Following that, there was a fluctuation in the space, like a breeze blowing across the surface of a lake, causing ripples. Not long after, a figure materialized. It was Fang Qingshan. "He's back." Fang Qingshan looked around and couldn't help but sigh. It was different. Previously, Fang Qingshan was only in the mystical realm. Although his combat power was comparable to the peak of the 10,000 longevity realm, he was still a rising star after all. He was just a little monstrous. And now, not only had he broken through to the longevity realm, he had also reached the pinnacle of the undying body. Additionally, he had also obtained a spatial treasure, the clear sky treasured mirror. Comprehending the laws of space and reaching the grotto heaven stage was just a matter of time. Even in the entire black-yellow great world, or even the eternal heavens, Fang Qingshan could be considered an expert. Moreover, in the emergent sect, as long as one broke through the longevity realm, one could become the vice sect master. Once he broke through the undying body, as long as the sect leader abdicated, he would be the sect leader's successor. Feng Baiyu was like this in the past. With his immortal body, he suppressed all the outstanding heroes and obtained the position of the sect leader. Now, Fang Qingshan had advanced a step further and was almost able to comprehend space and break through to the heavenly abode realm. As long as Feng Baiyu abdicated, who in the emergent sect would be able to compete with him? Both Fang Han and Hua Tiandu were still in the secret realm of divinity. As for the vice sect masters of the older generation, Yi Jianxiu, Chen Tianxia, Wang Daoling, and the others, although they had broken through the longevity realm 1,000 years ago and became vice sect masters, they had yet to break through the undying body. There was nothing to worry about. Therefore, the primary purpose of Fang Qingshan's return to a mortal world this time is to become the deputy head of emergent sect. This wasn't because he coveted power, but because once he became the vice sect master, he would be able to obtain the blessing of the Ascension sect. The Ascension sect was one of the 10 major immortal sects of the black-yellow great world. It was an existence that could rival the supreme solitary sect, especially now that there were more and more geniuses in the sect. Fang Qingshan, Fang Qingxue, Fang Han, Hua Tiandu, Bei Yaoguang, Meng Xiaobai, and the others were all people with extraordinary backgrounds, great fortunes, and great fortunes. With so many people joining the Ascension sect, the status of the Ascension sect would naturally rise. If he could become the vice sect master, or even the sect master, he would naturally be able to share the luck of these geniuses. In addition, with his merits and cultivation, he should be able to obtain the great yin-yang technique when he returned to the emergent sect. This was another one of the 3,000 great Daos, and it was ranked in the top 10. It pointed directly to the source of yin and yang. Hongjun Tiandao people, greater one sect. Fang Qingshan sneered. He thought of the Hongjun Tiandao hunting order that was issued to him in exquisite paradise. Let's just ride the donkey and read the script. Just wait and see. After identifying Fang Qingshan flew back to the emergent sect. At the same time, the emergent sect was also very lively. Because of Yin Shui, Hua Tiandu had received strong support from the Greater One sect. He was now in closed-door cultivation, striving to break through the immortal body. On the other hand, his master, Rui Zi, was working together to punish Fang Han, just like in the original work. It was Fang Qingshan who was issued the Hongjun Tiandao hunting order by the emergent sect. Fang Qingshan was also the biggest threat to Hua Tiandu. Why did Rui Zi still target Fang Han and not Fang Qingshan? In fact, it was very simple. After the battle in Exquisite Paradise, Fang Qingshan's level had surpassed the young disciples, and even surpassed the vice sect masters of the older generation. Now, Hua Tiandu and Fang Qingshan were not at the same level. Unless he broke through the immortal body, it would not be worth it to openly target Fang Qingshan, and he would not get the support of the crowd. Fang Han was different. He made rapid progress and had a 10-year agreement with Hua Tiandu. Moreover, he was a strong pillar of the Fang family. Killing him was equivalent to cutting off an arm of the Fang family and Fang Qingshan. At the same time, it would also eliminate an unstable hidden danger. Most importantly, compared to Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingxue, Fang Han had too many weaknesses that could be used against him. He was easier to deal with and could draw people to his side. That was why Ru Yizi was still determined to deal with Fang Han. It was just like cutting grass to hit a rabbit. But he did not know that although Fang Han was not as strong as Fang Qingshan, he was not a sheep that could be slaughtered at will, but a sleeping dragon. Sure enough, when Rui Zi gathered the elders and wanted to punish Fang Han, while Fang Qingxue was making a breakthrough in the small immortal realm, and Fang Qingshan was missing because of the Greater One Sect's Hongjun Tiandao hunting order. Fang Han returned. And as soon as he returned, he directly challenged Rui Zi to a life-and-death battle on the Heaven Punisher platform. This was exactly what Rui Zi wanted. He felt that although Fang Han was powerful, he had not broken through to the longevity realm. He was an ancient giant, and not an ordinary ancient giant, and he did not lack powerful magic treasures. It was a good opportunity to kill Fang Han and get rid of future troubles. However, the Heaven Punisher Elder did not agree. It was unknown if he was being impartial, but he felt that Hua Tiandu did not kill Fang Han when he was weak, and Fang Han should not cause trouble for Hua Tiandu when he was in seclusion. Plus, both of them had powerful forces behind them. It would be an earthquake if either of them died, or he was worried that Fang Han could not defeat Rui Zi. However, the Fang clan already had Fang Qingshan, and Fang Qingxue was also in seclusion in the small immortal realm. Now, there was another Fang Han. Wang Daoling and the other Vice Sect masters felt threatened, so they added fuel to the fire and allowed Fang Han and Rui Zi to have a life-and-death battle. When Fang Qingshan returned to the Heaven Punisher platform, everyone's attention was on the Heaven Punisher platform. Both Fang Han and Rui Zi were using all their strength, and they would not stop until one of them was dead. Fang Han held the underworld painting in his hand and stepped on the bridge of helplessness. The 8-divisional pagoda smashed towards Rui Zi like a seal. Thousands of rays of light, thunder, thousands of suns, and thousands of moons. Even though they were separated by the Heaven Punisher platform, those below the immortal giant level still felt their scalp tingle. As for Rui Zi, he did not want to be outdone. Hua Tiandu even gave Wan Luo and the others a grand origin technique, not to mention his master. Rui Zi's grand origin technique was unique, and he created 9 palaces' grand origin incarnations, which were equivalent to 9 incarnations. Of course, this incarnation technique was not comparable to Fang Qingshan's Sanqing incarnation, but it was considered one of the best incarnation techniques. At the same time, he took out a high-grade Dao artifact, Hua Tiandu's Great Desolation Ancient Furnace. Before Hua Tiandu went into secluded cultivation to make his breakthrough, he had given this precious treasure to Rui Zi. He wanted to use Rui Zi to deal with Fang Han. He had his own Dao weapon to begin with, the 9 Bins Yellow River Diagram. It was just that it was of a lower grade, only at the middle grade. Against Fang Qingshan's Yellow Springs Diagram, an 8-divisional stupa, it was clearly not enough. Chapter 336. N. As soon as Fang Qingshan flew into the mountain gate of Emergence Sect, Feng Baiyu, who was hiding in the Emergence Heavenly Palace and watching the battle between Fang Han and Rui Zi, noticed something. Previously, because Ing Xiantian of Innate Demon Sect retreated too quickly, Feng Baiyu didn't even have the time to use the Sky Emperor Mirror. This time, Feng Baiyu discovered that Ing Xiantian wasn't just spying on him, but also came in person. Feng Baiyu's face darkened, and without a word, he took out the Sky Emperor Mirror. As soon as Fang Qingshan returned to Emergence Sect, he sensed the magic power fluctuation near the Heaven's Punishment platform. Just as he was about to rush over to take a look, he suddenly felt a strong malice in the void. The attack came so suddenly and so fast that he didn't have time to dodge. Without thinking carefully, Fang Qingshan immediately cast out the Tai 5 smokes net. Wong. Then, the Sky Emperor Mirror's mirror light sprinkled down. Except for the colorful mist that shrouded Fang Qingshan, the entire space was frozen. In the next moment, the space in front of Fang Qingshan wriggled and split into 2 like a door. Feng Baiyu's figure walked out. "It's you?" When Feng Baiyu saw Fang Qingshan under the multicolored clouds, he was shocked. At Feng Baiyu's realm and status, there were very few things that could surprise him. But the moment he saw Fang Qingshan, he couldn't stop the surprise in his heart. If Fang Han's rapid improvement in cultivation was already shocking, then Fang Qingshan's improvement was completely unbelievable. How long had it been since Exquisite Paradise's birthday celebration? Fang Qingshan had already broken through the immortal realm before Hua, Tiandu, and the others, and reached the pinnacle of the immortal body. This simply subverted Feng Baiyu's worldview. The three deputy sect masters of Emergent Sect had broken through the longevity realm 1,000 years ago, but they still hadn't broken through the immortal body. Hua Tiandu had the support of the Greater One sect and had the immortal elixir, but it was still difficult for him to break through the immortal body. Back then, he could break through the immortal body in one go, but he was only at the early stage. But what about Fang Qingshan? The moment he broke through, he was at the peak of the undying body, half-step grotto heaven realm. This was simply unheard of. This was also the reason why Feng Baiyu had immediately attacked when he sensed Fang Qingshan's aura. He didn't think that the person who came was from the Emergent Sect. He thought that it was someone like Ying Xiantian who wanted to spy on the Emergent Sect. That was why he used the Heavenly Emperor Mirror to imprison and capture him. Firstly, they did not expect that this person would possess a defensive Dao artifact. Moreover, it was a supreme Grey Dao artifact. Secondly, they did not expect that the person who possessed this Dao artifact was Fang Qingshan. Even more so, they did not expect that his cultivation base had already reached such a level. Feng Baiyu looked at Fang Qingshan with a complicated expression. Although he had already overestimated Fang Qingshan, he didn't expect to still underestimate him. In Exquisite Paradise, the people of Hongjun Tiandao issued a kill order for Fang Qingshan. After the birthday banquet ended, Fang Qingshan disappeared. Feng Baiyu was initially worried, thinking that Fang Qingshan had encountered some mishap. Who would have thought? Feng Baiyu shook his head. Greetings, Sect Master. Although thousands of thoughts flashed through Feng Baiyu's mind, all of this happened in the blink of an eye. Seeing the person who came, Fang Qingshan also heaved a sigh of relief. Although this was the Emergent Sect, and he believed that there shouldn't be any sneak attacks from other experts, he was still shocked to be attacked by the Heavenly Emperor Mirror. It's good that you're back. Feng Baiyu calmed his mind and nodded. Suddenly, he turned to look at the Heaven's Punishment platform and shook his head with a smile. It seems that their fight is meaningless. Fang Qingshan had broken through the undying body and was a half-step Grotto Heaven Realm expert. He was the proper deputy sect master. Once Feng Baiyu abdicated, he could take charge of the Emergent Sect. The others, including Hua, Tiandu, Fang Han, and Yi Jinxiu, didn't have the slightest ability to compete. That was why Feng Baiyu said that the fight between Fang Han and Ru Yizi was meaningless. Sect Master, you're wrong. Fang Qingshan chuckled and shook his head. Some conflicts are irreconcilable. Since that's the case, why not let them settle it openly? This is more beneficial to the consolidation of the sect's strength. Are you so sure that Fang Han will win? Feng Baiyu looked at him in surprise. Sect Master let him fight with Ru Yizi because he thinks highly of Fang Han. Fang Qingshan smiled. Although Ru Yizi was an ancient giant, the fact that Fang Han used the secret realm to enlighten an immortal realm expert couldn't be hidden from him. In comparison, whether it was potential, combat power, or value, Yellow Springs Treasury, Fang Han was far superior to Ru Yizi. Since Fang Han was so valuable, why would Feng Baiyu let go to waste? Wouldn't that be a waste of God's gift? Therefore, since he allowed them to fight to the death, it was obvious that he thought highly of Fang Han. If it was Hua Tiandu, Feng Baiyu might try his best to stop him. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to lose either of them. At least before the sect opened the Yellow Springs Treasury and the Tianwu Treasury, nothing could happen to them. But Ru Yizi was just a stepping stone for Fang Han to hone his skills. Moreover, the Fang clan knows what's good for them. Since Fang Han asked for it, he must be very confident. Seeing that Feng Baiyu didn't agree, Fang Qingshan smiled and answered resolutely. If that's the case, let's go and watch together. Feng Baiyu didn't express his opinion. He only invited Fang Qingshan to watch the battle in the Heaven's Emergence Palace. As you wish, I dare not resign. Fang Qingshan readily accepted the advice. Although Fang Qingshan's cultivation was lower than Feng Baiyu's, if he used all his skills, it was hard to tell who would win. He was already at the same level as Feng Baiyu. Just as the two were chatting, the battle between Ru Yizhi and Fang Han had reached its climax. Ru Yizhi activated the Great Desolation Ancient Furnace, activating its full power. It transformed into a heaven and earth furnace, using yin and yang as the fuel and fortune as the tool. He wanted to swallow the 8 divisional pagoda and wooden Taoist. Ru Yizhi was an ancient giant and an expert in the longevity realm. He could fully utilize the power of a Tao tool. Moreover, he had the help of the 3 immortals, 2 elders, and a few others. They helped him purify the immortal world's yuan qi and expended their essence. They were all waiting for this moment. The Great Desolation Ancient Furnace went berserk. The surrounding space collapsed inch by inch. With the Great Desolation Ancient Furnace as the center, it transformed into a black hole that swallowed everything. Seeing this scene, everyone had different thoughts. However, whether it was on Fang Han's side or Hua Tindu's side, no one was optimistic about Fang Han's chances. Only Feng Baiyu and Fang Qingshan were indifferent. Feng Baiyu didn't care. It didn't matter who won or lost. Although he was optimistic about Fang Han, if Fang Han couldn't even pass this hurdle, then he wasn't worth betting on. As for Fang Qingshan, he knew that Fang Han was just like him. Fang Han had endless skills. A mere Ru Yizhi couldn't do anything to him. Chapter 337. As expected, Fang Han directly unleashed his avatar. For a moment, a 1,000-armed, 1,000-eyed demon stood in the air. On one side was the ancient demon realm, and on the other was the boundless land of Buddhism. Demonic flames surged into the sky, killing and roaring. It was unimaginably evil, lawless, evil, murderous, and destructive. It was as if an ancient demon had reappeared in the world. The sounds of Sanskrit rang out, and golden light illuminated the surroundings. Compassion, benevolence, and bliss portrayed the descent of a Buddha into the mortal world. The Buddha's radiance shone brightly. The 2 opposing powers, like water and fire, yin and yang, black and white, and day and night, fused together perfectly. With a single thought, one could become a Buddha and another could become a demon. The Buddha and the demon were one. As soon as the avatar appeared, it tore through the sky like a thunderbolt and shook the earth like the tides of the sun and moon. In an instant, the situation was stabilized. At the same time, with the diagram of the netherworld and the 8 divisional pagoda, it forcefully ripped apart a large piece of space. The mouth of the ancient cauldron of desolation trembled, and Fang Han blasted it open. Well done, Fang Han. Impressive indeed. When they saw this scene, not to mention the others, even Feng Baiyu was shocked. Let alone the others, the 2 treasures first. Although the Yellow Springs diagram was a peerless Grey Tao artifact, it had fallen into the mundane world ever since the Yellow Springs Grand Emperor failed to overcome his tribulation. Now, however, in Fang Qingshan's hands, it had begun to shine once more. Although it had yet to recover to its peak state, it was not inferior to some mid-grade or even high-grade Tao artifacts. Although the 8 divisional pagoda was a low-grade Tao artifact that Fang Han had refined, this treasure of the Dragon Clan had mutated after merging with the 5 elements spirit talisman. Although it was a low-grade Tao artifact, it could not be suppressed by a middle-grade or even a high-grade Tao artifact. As for Fang Han's avatar, the 1,000-armed Buddha and the 1,000-eyed demon, they were manifestations of the 2 supreme realms of Buddhism. They represented endless potential. If he really matures, he won't be any weaker than the Emperor of Netherworld. Feng Baiyu sighed emotionally. The Emperor of Netherworld? Fang Qingshan chuckled and said nothing. The Emperor of Netherworld was a prodigy, but comparing Fang Han to him was overestimating him. Just as everyone was amazed by Fang Han's strength, Ru Yizhi sneered as if he was not surprised at all. Then, with a shake of his hand, he tossed out the yellow river of 9 bends painting that he was wearing. The yellow river of 9 twists and 10,000 li of sand, the waves washing away the wind from the ends of the world. Now, they went straight to the Milky Way and went to the morning glory in the Weaver girl's house. Buzz! In the blink of an eye, the picture of the yellow river of 9 bends transformed into an ancient river. It twisted and turned like a dragon, a snake, a silk belt, and instantly wrapped around Fong Han. It was as if heaven and earth had been sealed. That was not all. Ru Yizhi also sent out a clone he had condensed from pure yang qi he had obtained from the Great Origin technique. Generally speaking, only a Dao artifact could display its full power. If you were to unleash a mid-grade Dao artifact with all his might, even though its power would be world-shaking, it would only be able to destroy everything within a radius of 500 kilometers, reducing it to dust. However, Ru Yizhi was ruthless to others and also ruthless to himself. Now that he had ignited a primordial spirit clone and unleashed 10 or even 100 times more power, he wanted to refine and suppress Fong Han in one go. He knew that Fong Han was a little strange. If he did not kill a snake, he would be harmed. Therefore, he made the yellow river of 9 bends painting explode. This time, even Feng Baiyu could not sit still. He did not expect Ru Yizhi to be so ruthless. In order to kill Fong Han, he was willing to destroy a mid-grade Dao artifact. It should be known that a mid-grade Dao artifact could not be refined without cultivating the immortal body. Even a powerhouse with the immortal body would need to go through thousands of years of tempering before it could take shape. The yellow river of 9 bends painting played a huge role in Ru Yizhi's current achievements. However, today, in order to deal with Fong Han, he gave it up just like that. What a waste. Feng Baiyu's arm moved as if he wanted to stop Ru Yizhi. After all, he had let Fong Han and Ru Yizhi fight because he wanted him to gain experience and grow faster. He did not really want him to die. However, as soon as he raised his hand, he put it down again. It was not that he thought that Fong Han was safe and sound, or that he did not want to embarrass himself and go back on his word. It was because he saw that Fong Qingshan was calm and composed. There was no worry on his face at all. "Aren't you worried?" Feng Baiyu asked curiously. This is the self-destruction of a mid-grade Dao artifact. Not to mention that Fong Han has not cultivated to become an eternal giant. Even someone in the longevity realm will lose a layer of skin if he is not careful. Don't worry, sect leader. Just keep watching. Fong Qingshan was not worried in the slightest, nor did he answer his doubts. Although he did not know Fong Han's trump card, his fate was connected to Fong Han's. At this moment, Fong Han's fate did not shake at all. It was as stable as Mount Tai, rising steadily. In this case, what did Fong Qingshan have to worry about? As expected, accidents often happen at the most unexpected times. Everyone, except for Fong Qingshan, thought that Fong Han was defeated. After all, Ru Yizhi had invested too much. Not only had he sacrificed a Dharma-form primordial spirit avatar, but he had also self-destructed the 9 bends yellow river diagram, which was considered a superior mid-grade Dao artifact. Buzz! A dazzling white light flashed. Everyone felt their vision blur, and the sound of a sword rang in their ears. One sword light froze the 14 provinces. This sword came and went without a trace. The speed of this sword had exceeded a limit. Lawless, boundless, and immeasurable. Ruthless, murderous, heartless. The entire space was silent. The 9 bends yellow river diagram that was about to explode stopped. Ru Yizhi also stopped. In the void, a sharp sword appeared, full of monstrous, murderous intent. The sword was 3 feet long and blood-red. On one side, it was written, "All things in the world nourish man," and on the other side, it was written, "Man has no virtue to repay the heavens. Kill the heavens, kill the earth, kill people, kill gods, kill ghosts, kill the Tao, kill oneself." The 7-kill sword. Fong Han was indeed the son of Providence. The fragment of the world tree was obtained by Fong Qingshan, and Hongjun Tiandao replaced it for him. The great Chaos Thunder Sword was taken by Fong Qingshan, and Hongjun Tiandao gave him the 7-kill sword. Compared to the great Chaos Thunder Sword, The 7-kill sword was even more powerful. This was not because of his character, but because it was purely a problem. The Great Chaos Thunder Sword was also a superior Grey Dao artifact that specialized in killing. But how could it compare to a sword that contained the 7 kills Dao? This was a Dao artifact that was specially made for killing, so its killing power was naturally incomparable. Boundless killing intent rose up under the sword light, gushing out from the void. Boundless primordial chaos was born in the void. The killing intent split the void, creating worlds, and the primordial chaos destroyed worlds, returning them to nothingness. Then, the murderous intent was released again. This was a pure process of the creation and destruction of a world of killing. Of course, the power was unimaginable. Although the 9 bins yellow river diagram did not explode successfully, the artifact spirit was still destroyed. Chapter 338. Fang Han, have mercy. At that moment, Fang Qingshan's mouth moved slightly. Of course, he did not want Fang Han to have mercy on Ruizi. Instead, he was interested in the 9 bins yellow river diagram. Thinking of the 9 bins yellow river diagram, Fang Qingshan's first thought was of the 9 bins yellow river formation that had shone brilliantly in the hands of the 3 sky fairies during the War of the Gods. This formation was second only to the sect of Jie's Immortal Slaying Sword formation and the 10,000 Immortals formation. It was just a formation set up by hundreds of mortals and suppressed by the primordial spiritual treasure, the primordial golden chalice. It contained connate secrets and mechanisms of life and death. On the outside, it was the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. It allowed the 12 golden immortals of Chan, Jie, and Jie to run around like wolves, to have the 3 flowers on their heads and the 5 chi in their chests eliminated. It could lose the spirit of an immortal, vanish the soul of an immortal, trap the form of an immortal, damage the chi of an immortal, lose the original form of an immortal, and damage the limbs of an immortal. Immortals would become mortals when they entered, and mortals would perish when they entered. If this formation had a diagram, and immortals were replaced with golden immortals and zenith heaven immortals like the Zhodian star formation, and suppressed by a top-grade primordial spiritual treasure, one could imagine the power of that formation. As for the 9 bins yellow river diagram, even though it was of a lower quality, it could be trained continuously. Most importantly, this item could indeed be used as the diagram of the 9 bins yellow river formation. Therefore, Fang Qingshan was rather tempted. Therefore, after Fang Han destroyed the artifact spirit, he asked him to have mercy and not to destroy the Dao artifact. Fang Han, who was about to destroy the 9 bins yellow river diagram, suddenly heard a familiar voice. He could not help but be startled, and his hand stopped moving. When did the 3rd young master come back? A thought flashed through Fang Han's mind, but it was just a thought. After all, he was still in a battle of life and death with Ruizi. Although he did not think that Ruizi could turn the tables, a lion would still use all its strength to fight a rabbit. As for the matter that Fang Qingshan had mentioned, it was just a small matter to Fang Han, something that he could do in passing. In the blink of an eye, Fang Han flicked his wrist and twirled his sword around. The yellow river of 9 bins was lifted, and the gate of Avicii on his back emitted a devouring force that swallowed the sword and suppressed it. Ruizi had ruthlessly detonated his mid-grade Dao artifact, the yellow river of 9 bins painting, to kill Fang Han. Then, Fang Han suddenly unleashed his power and took out the 7-kill sword, an upper-grade Dao artifact born for killing. He broke through the yellow river of 9 bins diagram's encirclement in one fell swoop, destroying the artifact spirit and devouring the pure yang primordial spirit that had yet to be completely digested. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Then, everyone saw Fang Han's counterattack. Not only did he turn the situation around, he even took away the yellow river of 9 bins painting to suppress him. That was not all. Fang Han was not a person who only knew how to take a beating and not fight back. Take advantage of his weakness and kill him. Having lost a pure yang soul avatar and a mid-grade Dao artifact for dual cultivation, Ru Yizhi had already been at a low ebb. On the other hand, Fang Han's 7-kill sword was like the sun in the sky. How could he let go of such a great opportunity? Kill! While Ru Yizhi was still in a daze, Fang Han roared and slashed out with the 7-kill sword again. The sword chi was like frost, and the killing intent was like a rainbow. The murderous aura gathered like a dark cloud pressing down on a city. Gradually, the sky became gloomy as if it was about to drip water. The sword radiance surged like the river of history, enveloping the universe and sweeping in all directions. The surrounding air was sucked in by the sword radiance. Everyone's gaze, including their divine wills, were all sucked toward a single point. The space was shattering. Even the ceiling enchantment that Feng Baiyu had set up and the Heaven's Punishment platform seemed to be overwhelmed and began to tremble. Rumble. There were 7 consecutive explosions, and 7 mushroom clouds rose. Of the 9 palaces' primordial spirits, cultivated by the Great Origin technique, apart from Ru Yizhi's original primordial spirit, which had been sacrificed, the remaining 7 primordial spirits were all destroyed by the 7-kill sword. Then, the remaining force continued to slash on the Great Desolation ancient furnace. Dang! The sound of a large bell pierced through the barrier, causing the spectators' thoughts to involuntarily stop for a moment. A blinding light shot out in all directions like a meteor shower. Although the Great Desolation ancient furnace was also a high-grade Dao weapon, it was obviously not as good as the 7-kill sword, a top-grade Dao weapon that was born to kill. The desolate god of the Great Desolation ancient furnace let out a painful roar. It shook violently and shrank back into the furnace. Just one slash had left irreparable damage on the Great Desolation ancient furnace's spirit. Without hundreds of years of hard work, it would be impossible for it to recover. After all, the 7-kill sword could kill the heavens, kill the earth, kill humans, kill gods, kill ghosts, kill Tao, and kill oneself. The gods here were not only targeted at immortals and spirits, but also those born from the heavens and the earth, weapon spirits, pill spirits, and book spirits. Therefore, it wasn't just the power of the 7-kill sword. It was also the reason why the weapon spirit was targeted. Impossible. As the weapon spirit of the Great Desolation ancient furnace shrank back, Ru Yizhi let out a miserable shriek and a cry of disbelief. She was too smart, and her life was in danger. The 3 immortals and the 2 elders worked together to pour out their energy in pure Yang Yuan Qi to increase the power of the Great Desolation ancient furnace by hundreds of times. They suppressed the painting of the Yellow River and the 8 divisional stupa. They even blew up their Yuan Qi and weapons. However, in the end, not only was it a futile effort, but it was also a double loss. It was even to the extent that he died before he could achieve victory. Without the painting of the Yellow River and the Great Desolation ancient furnace, how could Ru Yizhi defend against the full power of the 7-kill sword? Despair filled his eyes. How is this possible? How is this possible? Yeah, how is this possible? Not only was Ru Yizhi in disbelief, but many of the spectators couldn't believe what was happening before their eyes. Ru Yizhi was a giant. He wasn't a wandering cultivator like Priest Long or the Wooden Taoist. He was an elder of the Ascension sect and Hua, Tiandu's master. Someone like that, with the Great Desolation ancient furnace, lost to Fang Han. Furthermore, it was a crushing defeat. Fang Han was merely a natural phenomenon. How could anyone believe this? Another Fang Qingshan. Seeing this, Ing Xiantian of the Khanate demon sect couldn't help but sigh. Of course, this was because he didn't know that Fang Qingshan had broken through to the secret realm of longevity and the undying body. It wouldn't be long before he broke through to the Grotto Heaven realm. Sect leader, how is it? At this moment, Fang Qingshan chuckled and asked Feng Baiyu. What a pity. A sliver of pity appeared on Feng Baiyu's face. After all, Ru Yizhi was a great figure of history after all. He would be a pillar of support in any sect. It was truly quite a pity for him to die in an internal conflict, especially when the crisis of the god race was about to erupt. Trees have branches. Pruning them appropriately will help the tree grow. Don't put the cart before the horse. Hearing this, Fang Qingshan said calmly. Chapter 339. Aha! The more desperate he was, the crazier he became. Seeing that his 1,000 years of cultivation was about to be destroyed, how could Ru Yizi be willing to accept this? Especially when he was defeated by Fang Han, who he did not care about at all. He felt even more unwilling and unwilling. In that case, even if I die, I will take you with me. Ru Yizi laughed like a madman. He wanted to die together with Fang Han. Die with the heavens. Body, dharma, primordial spirit, mystique, lifespan, and so on. Ru Yizi sacrificed them all. He wanted to drag Fang Han along with him. Even if he could not drag Fang Han down with him, he wanted to make sure Fang Han was skinned alive, even if he did not die. Boom! With a loud bang, Ru Yizi's entire body disintegrated. He turned into an arrow that pierced through the sun. Ru Yizi was an ancient giant after all. If he fought with his life on the line, the power would be great. At least the 7-kill sword stopped for a moment. It even felt like it was about to be sent flying. Even Fang Han felt as if his body was disintegrating. Tiandu, avenge me. At the same time, Ru Yizi took this opportunity to throw out the Great Desolation Ancient Furnace. This Dao item originally belonged to Hua Tiandu. He did not want it to fall into Fang Han's hands. Of course, more importantly, this Dao item was an important proof to open the Panwu Heavenly Sovereign's treasury. It would be troublesome if it fell into Fang Han's hands. How could Fang Han let go of something that was already in his hands? Humph! With a cold laugh, Fang Han took out the diagram of the underworld and the 8-divisional pagoda. The diagram of the underworld had yin, and the 8-divisional pagoda had wooden Taoist. With the help of the Chakra King and the others, Fang Han did not need much effort. This was the difference between Dharma treasures with and without artifact spirits. Dharma treasures without artifact spirits could only be activated by themselves. At most, they would be more intelligent and could automatically protect their owners. However, it was completely different from using an artifact spirit. Its power was many times weaker. This was a disadvantage, but also an advantage. There was no need to worry about an artifact spirit's backlash. Of course, in immortality, it was rare to hear of an artifact spirit attacking its owner. Otherwise, there would not be an artifact spirit. With the diagram of the Yellow Springs and the 8-divisional pagoda, the 7 kills sword easily slew Ru Yizi. You still want to leave at this time? How naive. The great wilderness ancient furnace was about to fly out of the Heaven's punishment platform and head towards the Heaven's emergence palace. After all, Hua Tiandu was currently in seclusion to break through to the longevity arcana stage. Fang Han flicked his hand and summoned the Yellow Springs illustration. The bridge of helplessness flashed and shot out like a rainbow, directly suppressing the Great Desolation Ancient Furnace. Buzz, the Great Desolate Ancient Furnace's artifact spirit, the Desolate God, struggled for a while. However, it had already been heavily injured by the 7-kill sword. How could it possibly fight against you now? Seeing this, Feng Baiyu could not help but frown. After Ru Yizi was suppressed by Fang Han, he removed the seal on the Heaven's punishment platform because he did not want this treasure to fall into Fang Han's hands. He did not expect Fang Han to act so decisively and so quickly. However, his brows soon relaxed because he sensed a familiar aura. The change in Feng Baiyu's expression did not go unnoticed by Fang Qingshan. He chuckled in his heart and apologized to himself, because his plan was destined to fail. Fang Han, you deserve to die. Just then, the great wilderness ancient furnace that was originally suppressed by Yin suddenly exploded. With a loud bang, the bridge of helplessness was lifted, and it was about to fly into the hand of a rainbow that flew out from the Heaven's emergence palace. At the same time, Hua Tiandu's voice, which was 30% anger, 30% hostility, 30% murderous intent, and 10% sadness, resounded throughout the Heaven's punishment platform. His spiritual energy rumbled, and he was even more powerful than Rui Zi from before. Hua Tiandu had come out of seclusion, relying on his own resources and the support of the Greater One sect. Hua Tiandu successfully broke through at the last moment and became an ancient giant. Unfortunately, he did not have Fang Qingxua's luck. The moment he broke through, he obtained the undying body. If the undying body was so easy to break through, the three vice sect masters of the Heaven's Emergent sect, Elder Tianxing, and the others would not have wasted their time until now. Even Fang Han and Fang Qingshan had only reached the peak of the 10,000 longevity realm when they broke through to the secret realm of longevity. It was already very good that Hua Tiandu could keep up with them. Unfortunately, if Hua Tiandu had broken through before the life and death battle between Fang Han and Rui Zi, or if Fang Qingshan had not returned today, or if he had returned, his cultivation would not be like this. Perhaps the situation would be very different. But now, the slightest error could lead to a huge error. Hua Tiandu broke through to the secret realm of longevity. Although he did not break through to the undying body, he is still at the peak of the 10,000 longevity realm. Now there's a good show to watch. The Heaven's Emergent sect is really favored by the heavens. First, it was Fang Qingshan, then Fang Han, and now Hua Tiandu has become an ancient giant. Seeing Hua Tiandu fly out from the Heaven's Emergence Palace, the crowd that was shocked by Rui Zi's defeat was in an uproar again. Oomph. At that moment, Fang Qingshan suddenly let out a cold snort. He extended his hand. The great wilderness ancient cauldron's momentum could not help but stop, as if it had been imprisoned in mid-air. Then, a giant hand that covered the sky suddenly appeared in the sky. The palm was chaotic and its fingers were colorful. Mixed Yuan, Qi 5 Elements Grand Qin hand. With a gentle grab, the great wilderness ancient cauldron fell into Fang Qingshan's hand without any resistance. 3 realms of heaven and earth, 10 directions seal. Then, Fang Qingshan softly shouted and executed the grand sealing technique, sealing the great wilderness ancient cauldron in an instant. Take it. Fang Qingshan flicked his finger and the great wilderness ancient cauldron fell into Fang Han's hand. There were too many surprises today. Be it Rui Zi's decisiveness and willingness, or Fang Han's desperate counterattack, or Rui Zi's accidental death, or Hua Tiandu's sudden breakthrough to the immortality realm. All of these were unexpected. Who would have thought that at the last moment, another accident would appear? Not only did the others not expect this, even Feng Baiyu, who was sitting beside Fang Qingshan, did not expect this. Therefore, he did not have the time to react and stop Fang Qingshan. The reason why Fang Qingshan intervened was simple. Rui Yitzi and Fang Han were on the arena of life and death. Although the great desolate ancient furnace was Hua Tiandu's treasure, since he lent it to Rui Yitzi, it was now Fang Han's trophy. What right did Hua Tiandu have to take it back? Also, Fang Qingshan allowed Fang Han to keep the 9 bins yellow river painting. He wanted to take it back. Although Fang Han might not mind, Fang Qingshan did not think it was appropriate. Therefore, the great wilderness ancient cauldron was given to him as a gift. Besides, Fang Han was a member of the Fang clan. He could not let his own people suffer. This time, he was going to rule the world. His first attack was naturally going to be on Hua Tiandu. Chapter 340. Who is it? Hua Tiandu was enraged when he saw his great desolation ancient furnace being snatched away before he could even react. He was in high spirits when he broke through to the longevity realm and reached the peak of the longevity realm. However, he didn't know that reality was so cruel. The moment he came out of seclusion, he learned that his master, Rui Zi, was killed by Fang Han. Before he could avenge his master, his high-grade Tao artifact, the great desolation ancient furnace, was snatched away. How could he not be angry? Who dares to snatch my artifact in the emergent sect? Humph! Looking at Hua Tiandu, who was seething with anger and itching to start a massacre to vent his anger, Fang Qingshan could not help but sneer. Your artifact? From the moment you lent it to Rui Zi and he was defeated, it no longer belongs to you. It is Feng Han's spoils of war. As soon as he finished speaking, Fang Qingshan stood up from Feng Baiyu's side and walked to the heaven punishment platform, looking down at the crowd. At this moment, Fang Qingshan's aura was fully unleashed. The pressure of the half-step grotto heaven realm enveloped the entire place. Everyone felt as if a towering mountain was pressing down on their heads. Impossible. An ancient giant. Undying body. Feeling the pressure from Fang Qingshan's body, everyone except for Feng Baiyu cried out in alarm. No one believed that all of this was real. Hua Tiandu, in particular, couldn't believe what he was seeing. He was the pride of the emergent sect and had inherited the Panwu strength technique. With the support of the Greater One sect, he had never broken through to the undying body. But what about Fang Qingshan? It was not obvious at the beginning, but once he stepped onto the path of cultivation, it was out of control. People say that a scholar who has been away for 3 days should be looked at differently. It was a perfect description for Fang Qingshan. Every time they met, his strength had undergone a drastic change. Previously, outside of exquisite paradise, he had only changed his destiny and had not even stepped into the longevity realm. Because of the birthday gift, he had provoked the Greater One sect in public, causing the people of Hongjun Tiandao to issue a kill order to the Hongjun Tiandao. Everyone also expressed a wave of regret towards Fang Qingshan. After all, he was young and frivolous and was somewhat arrogant. Ever since the Hongjun Tiandao pursuit order of the Greater One sect was issued, no one had escaped except for Venerable Ling Long naturally. No one would regard Fang Qingshan as the second Venerable Ling Long, so his fate was already determined. Sure enough, after leaving exquisite paradise, Fang Qingshan disappeared from the mysterious yellow great world, and there was no news of him. Everyone thought that he was killed by the Hongjun Tiandao hunting order of the Greater One sect. Who would have thought that when he appeared in front of everyone again, he would be in such a state? The pinnacle of the undying body and the half-step grotto heaven realm had broken everyone's bottom line. With this kind of cultivation, he could be a sect master or grand elder in an ordinary big sect. Even in the top 10 sects of the immortal Tao, Fang Qingshan's cultivation base could be said to be a crane in a flock of chickens. With his cultivation base, not to mention Hua Tiandu, Fang Qingxue, Meng Xiaobai, and even Fang Han, they all had to step aside. It seems that the emergent sect will be his world in the future. Everyone looked at Fang Qingshan with a complicated expression and thought to themselves. Even the 3 deputy sect masters, Yi Jinxiu and Wang Daoling, looked dispirited at this moment. They had broken through the longevity realm 1,000 years ago, but until today, they had not broken through the undying body. But Fang Qingshan not only broke through, but also went one step further, almost breaking through to the grotto heaven realm. How could they have the courage to compete with him? Even Fang Han, who was not inferior to others, couldn't help but feel discouraged when he saw Fang Qingshan's cultivation base. Fang Qingshan could be said to be a peak on his path of cultivation. He always wanted to surpass him, but he didn't know that no matter how fast he progressed, Fang Qingshan was always so far away from him. The only one who couldn't accept it was Hua Tiandu. There was something wrong with the way the script unfolded. According to Hua Tiandu's understanding, he had broken through to the longevity realm and obtained the vacuum yin-yang Dao. As long as Feng Baiyu abdicated, he could rightfully take the helm of the emergent sect. However, the first thing he didn't expect was that after spending so many resources, including an immortal pill, he still couldn't break through the undying body. Not only that, with the strength of the pinnacle of the longevity realm, he could also stand alone, and it was more than enough to face the 3 deputy sect masters. However, as soon as he came out of seclusion, his master died, his Dharma treasure was stolen, and now he was attacked by Fang Qingshan's aura. I don't believe it. It's fake. It's all fake. Hua Tiandu couldn't accept this fact and directly attacked Fang Qingshan. Hua Tiandu attacked with all his strength. First, he revealed his Dharma form, primordial spirit, a body with 5 heads and 9 arms. Then he activated the Panwu strength supernatural power with all his strength. His primordial spirit was holding various Tao artifacts in its hands. All of them smashed toward Fong Qingshan. "Have mercy!" At this moment, Feng Baiyu's voice sounded. Hearing this, Hua Tiandu was instantly delighted. He thought that Feng Baiyu was telling him that Fong Qingshan was a paper tiger that would be broken with one poke, and that if he used too much strength, he would kill him. Therefore, he wanted Feng Baiyu to have mercy. Little did he know that this was just his own wishful thinking. Feng Baiyu's words were directed at Fong Qingshan. Given the conflict between Hua Tiandu and the Fong clan, Feng Baiyu had reason to believe that as long as the opportunity was right, Fong Qingshan would definitely be willing to eliminate him. Now, Hua Tiandu actually attacked Fong Qingshan. Wasn't he courting death? However, even so, Hua Tiandu couldn't die. Just like how he protected Fong Han in the past, Hua Tiandu still had the secret of the Tianwu treasure vault. Before the emergent sect obtained it, he couldn't let anything happen to him. The Shen clan's great calamity was coming, and this was the autumn of life and death. Not only individuals, but also sects had to do their best to increase their strength. Only in this way could they survive the great calamity. Otherwise, they would only be able to turn into ashes. "You're courting death," Fong Qingshan said indifferently as he looked at Hua Tiandu, who was going all out. He didn't seem to use any supernatural power, but he directly stretched out his 5 fingers and punched out. Crack! The Tao artifact made a whimpering sound and was directly slapped away. The Panwu strength supernatural power had always been used to suppress people with force. However, when it encountered Fong Qingshan's palm, it was like an egg hitting a stone. As for Hua Tiandu's primordial spirit, it directly exploded. When the palm landed on the top of Hua Tiandu's head, Hua Tiandu's face revealed a look of shock and anger. However, in the next moment, both of his knees broke, and he was actually forced to kneel on the ground. Boom! On the Heaven's Punishment platform, the ground shook violently, but not even a crack appeared. Fong Qingshan controlled his strength perfectly. Not a bit more, not a bit less, and not a bit more. Although there wasn't an earth-shattering momentum, the shock it caused to the crowd was not weak at all. Everyone who saw this scene instantly felt a chill down their spine, and their minds were shaken. Chapter 341. Hua Tiandu was definitely not weak. Before he broke through to the longevity realm, although he was not as heaven-defying as Fong Han and Fong Qingshan, who could easily suppress longevity realm giants, ordinary longevity realm cultivators could not do anything to him. Now that his cultivation had broken through to the peak of the longevity realm, he was even more extraordinary. Almost no one present dared to say that they could defeat him, let alone defeat him. It would be difficult for them to fight to a draw. However, such a top expert in everyone's eyes, when facing Fong Qingshan, first, he did not use any divine ability, and second, he did not use any Tao weapon. Instead, he directly suppressed Hua Tiandu with a slap, like an adult beating a child. How could the crowd not be frightened? For a moment, the whole place was silent. Everyone was like a duck being held by the neck. Not a single sound could be heard. Impossible, impossible. Hua Tiandu's eyes were about to split open. His eyes seemed to be about to explode, and 2 streams of blood flowed out. He roared and struggled. However, everything was useless. In the past, he had relied on the Panwu great strength divine art to subdue 10 things with one force and break 10,000 techniques with one force. However, today, the supernatural power that was enough to shatter 100,000 mountains and shatter the stars seemed to have disappeared. No matter how hard he tried, it was futile. The palm pressing on the top of his head was like a 5-fingered divine mountain, firmly suppressing him. All of his essence, qi, and spirit were imprisoned in his body, and he could not move at all. Okay, enough is enough. At this moment, Feng Baiyu's voice was heard. Then, a ray of crystal light cut between Hua Tiandu and Fong Qingshan. The palm that had suppressed Hua Tiandu, to the point of suffocation, seemed to move away automatically. Fang Qingshan's pupils suddenly shrank to the size of the eye of a needle. He knew that although his strength had improved, he was certainly not as strong as Feng Baiyu. After all, Feng Baiyu was from the same generation as the people of Hongjun Tiandao and Venerable Linglong. Although he was not as brilliant as Venerable Linglong, nor did he have the abundant resources of the Greater One sect, with his talent and the support of the Emergent sect, he would not be weak. The reason why Fang Qingshan could not wait to attack and humiliate Hua Tiandu was that he wanted to test Feng Baiyu. Actually, this was a good thing that killed two birds with one stone. Firstly, he wanted to return to the Emergent sect and obtain the inheritance of the true void, Yin Yang Dao. If he wanted to become the first deputy sect master, he would have to face Hua, Tiandu, and the others first. Even though Yi Jinxiu and the other two were vice sect masters, they had not been able to advance in their cultivation for many years. Their potential had already been sapped, so there was nothing to worry about. The only troublesome one was Hua Tiandu. Even if he didn't make trouble for him, Hua Tiandu would make trouble for him. After all, the conflict between the two of them was irreconcilable. Since that was the case, he might as well make the first move and take advantage of this good opportunity to deal with Hua Tiandu. Furthermore, he supported Feng Han. Finally, he probed Feng Baiyu. Actually, while he was testing Feng Baiyu was also testing him, considering Feng Baiyu's cultivation base. If he had wanted to stop Fang Qingshan and Hua Tiandu from fighting each other, he would have been able to separate the two of them when he had yelled for Fang Qingshan to show mercy. However, he didn't. His main purpose was to test Fang Qingshan's strength. The main reason was that his strength had improved too quickly. In a trance, he seemed to have seen the shadow of Venerable Linglong, but he wasn't too sure. However, he didn't know if he didn't try. Once he tried, he was shocked. Although the two of them had overestimated each other, the result of the final display was still not enough. Fang Qingshan originally thought that with his half-step Grotto Heaven cultivation base, even if he still wasn't a match for Feng Baiyu, he could at least exchange blows with him. However, from the way Feng Baiyu lifted his palm as if it was light, he could tell that the gap between him and Feng Baiyu was still a level of heaven's punishment. Even if Feng Baiyu's strength wasn't comparable to the people of Hongjun Tiandao, his combat strength wasn't weak at all. Feng Baiyu was also shocked by Fang Qingshan's strength. Although he knew that Yi Shiwen could capture misty water as easily as taking something out of his pocket when he was in the fate-changing realm, and after breaking through to the longevity realm, especially after attaining the undying realm, his combat strength must be extraordinary. However, he didn't expect that even when he used Hua Tiandu as a whetstone, he still wasn't able to test Fang Qingshan's depth. After this round of testing, both of them had gained something. Fang Qingshan clearly recognized his own strength. Although he could already be called a giant, there was still a gap if he wanted to become a giant, not to mention seeking revenge on the Greater One sect. And although Feng Baiyu was somewhat regretful that Hua Tiandu was suppressed and might not be able to recover after this setback, but there was an even more amazing genius like Fang Qingshan, who had yet to flirt with the Greater One sect, so he was naturally very happy in his heart. However, on the surface, his face was livid, and he said in a very displeased manner, "Both of you are the mainstays of my emergent sect, and you've broken through to the longevity realm at such a young age. How dare you fight in public?" Although Feng Baiyu's voice wasn't loud and didn't contain the slightest bit of hostility, it contained a majesty that was like a sword hanging in the sky, making people not dare to take it lightly and constantly be vigilant. Seeing that Fang Qingshan and Hua Tiandu were shocked by his words, Feng Baiyu nodded his head in satisfaction and eased his tone. "Although we lost Rui Zi today, it was only out of mutual consent. Life and death are up to fate. However, there are two more young giants of Qingshan and Tiandu, which is double happiness. I now announce." Feng Baiyu looked around and said in a clear voice, "From today onwards, Fang Qingshan and Hua Tiandu are the deputy sect masters of my emergent sect. When I abdicate in the future, one of them, Chun Tianxia, Yi Jianxiu, and Wang Daoling will be chosen to inherit the sect. Greetings, Deputy Sect Master Fong. Greetings, Deputy Sect Master Hua. Congratulations, Senior Brother Fong. Senior Brother Hua has become the Deputy Sect Master. Congratulations, Fong Daoist. Daoist Hua has become the Deputy Sect Master of the Emergent Sect. He will wield the power of a region, and his name will shake the world. It was unknown whether it was because too many things had surprised a crowd today that they were immune to it, or because they felt that Fong Qingshan and Hua Tiandu deserved to become the Deputy Sect Masters. Facing Feng Baiyu's loud announcement, the crowd didn't feel surprised at all. They just stood up and congratulated Fong Qingshan and Hua Tiandu, including Yi Jianxiu and the other two. Fong Qingshan breaking through the peak of the undying body and becoming a half-step into the heavenly abode realm was already shocking enough. But he also suppressed Hua Tiandu with a flip of his palm. Yi Jianxiu and the other two immediately lost the will to compete. Of course, although they said they were congratulating the two at the same time, it was obvious that both the one congratulating and the one being congratulated were clearly aware that they were all congratulating Fong Qingshan. Although Hua Tiandu was also involved, the general trend was still the same. Today, he had broken through to the secret realm of immortality. Originally, he should be flaunting his strength, Yang Mei exhaling, and the emergent sect would hold a grand banquet, inviting all the immortals of the world. From now on, the emergent sect would enter his era. However, he didn't expect that what greeted him would be a blow to his head. Since there was a Yu, there was also a Liang. Chapter 342. All Heaven's Peak. Although Fong Qingshan didn't stay here for a long time, everything in the dojo of emergent sect had been well taken care of. Especially after he had fought Hua Tiandu to a draw, the sect's resources had been tilted towards him. After he had displayed his prowess in exquisite paradise, the sect's resources tilted even more than Hua Tiandu's. Unfortunately, based on Fong Qingshan's vision, there were only two things in the emergent sect that caught his attention. One was luck, and the other was the great yin-yang technique. Fortunately, although he didn't value the other resources, it was only for someone like him who had control over the heavens and realms. For others, it was also a considerable amount of resources. His two handmaidens, Fong Qin and Fong Ling, had not only broken through to the God Power secret realm, but they had also cultivated to the Earth Energy secret realm, making them even more powerful than ordinary true disciples. One had to know that one of the famous 40 great bandits overseas that Fong Qingshan first dealt with was only in the Gangxi realm. TSK Tisk. Fong Qingxue looked at Fong Qingshan from head to toe for a while, smacked her lips, and sighed. If it wasn't for my little destiny art sensing that your origin hasn't changed, I would have really thought that you've been replaced. Fong Qingxue herself was the reincarnation of the ancient Thunder Mother, and she was also related to the great destiny art. She could be said to be a heaven's favored child. Therefore, when she joined the emergent sect, she was discovered by Feng Baiyu and the others, and was vigorously nurtured. But even so, Fong Qingxue was only in the heaven and earth manifestation realm. Although Fong Han was born in the Fong family and was a servant, he had great luck and great opportunities. He was able to turn misfortune into fortune and obtain the legacy of the Netherworld Emperor. Even so, he was only in the heaven and earth manifestation realm. And what about Fong Qingshan? In the past, his body couldn't be compared to Fong Han's. He was like a sieve that could be blown by the wind. However, after 3 years of not flying, he soared to the sky. After 3 years of not crying, he shocked the world with a single brilliant feat. Once he rose, he was like the sun rising from the east, rolling in history, unstoppable. Now, it was not as simple as catching up from behind. She and Fong Han could only look at his back. This was especially true after witnessing Hua Tiandu being forced to kneel on the ground by Fong Qingshan with a single slap. Even though he felt great satisfaction, he also felt a bit sad. After all, if he were in Hua Tiandu's shoes and faced Fong Qingshan's move, the result would obviously be the same. although they all knew that Fang Qingshan wouldn't do anything to them. However, both Fang Qingxue and Fang Han were proud people, unwilling to fall behind others. Seeing Fang Qingshan display his prowess naturally stimulated their fighting spirit. Unlike Yi Jianxiu and the other two, they had already lost all courage to face Fang Qingshan. Their future achievements could be predicted. On the other hand, Fang Qingxue and Fang Han faced the difficulties head-on. They did not fight for a short period of time. Their future was bright, and they had plenty of time ahead of them. Hearing Fang Qingxue's words, although Fang Qingshan didn't show it on his face, his heart was racing. His rapid advancement was indeed too eye-catching. Fortunately, he had the All-Heaven chessboard, a supreme treasure that could suppress his fate and conceal the mysteries of heaven. Although its grade was not very high, its exquisiteness surpassed many fairy artifacts. That was why Fang Qingxue did not notice anything strange. Congratulations on becoming the Deputy Sect Master, third young master. In the future, you will be in charge of the emergent sect and dominate the world. Fang Han was both regretful and happy as he congratulated Fang Qingshan. Unfortunately, he actually wanted to take the emergent sect into his own pocket. Unfortunately, he met Fang Qingshan. With a mountain in front of him, he couldn't overcome it no matter what. Fortunately, he was also a member of the Fang family, and Fang Qingshan was also very good to him. In particular, his fate was connected to Fang Qingshan's. Although he was the one who provided the fate, they were bound together for good or bad. Fang Qingshan's strength and influence had been strengthened, so naturally, his status had also risen. Therefore, he was very happy. By the way, third young master, this is the 9 bends yellow river diagram. As he said that, Fang Han took out the middle grade 9 bends yellow river diagram that he had previously put into his pocket and handed it to Fang Qingshan. Then, he asked with doubt and curiosity, "Third young master, although the quality of this Dao weapon is good, it was damaged by the 7-kill sword. The weapon spirit has been destroyed, and more than half of it has been destroyed. Is it still useful?" The destruction of the weapon spirit is exactly what I wanted. I don't like to have another creature in my Dao weapon. Fang Qingshan took the 9 bends yellow river diagram with a happy face. Although it looked a little broken, Fang Qingshan looked carefully. Apart from the weapon spirit, it was not damaged at all. The reason why I want this Dao weapon is that I know of a formation called the 9 bends yellow river formation. It is extremely powerful, and I want to use this Dao weapon as the formation diagram. Fang Qingshan did not hide his purpose. Anyway, they had never heard of it. Sure enough, Fang Qingxue and Fang Han just frowned in confusion. They did not continue to ask questions, lest they involve Fang Qingshan's secrets. After all, Fang Qingshan could break through so quickly. Obviously, he had encountered a great opportunity. Just like the ancient Thunder Emperor's mantle to Fang Qingxue and the Yellow River diagram to Fang Han. These were all trump cards. No matter how familiar or intimate they were, it was best not to get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, it would easily cause conflict. By the way, I also have a gift for you. After putting away the 9 bends Yellow River diagram, Fang Qingshan suddenly remembered the problem of the weapon spirit. He remembered that there were 2 sealed weapon spirits in his Sumeru space. He immediately took them out and handed one of the pearls that flashed with lightning to Fang Qingxue and a blue pearl with a hint of tide to Fang Han. Then he explained, there are 2 weapon spirits sealed in these 2 pearls. Weapon spirits? Fang Qingxue and Fang Han were shocked to hear this. In the immortal world, if a magic weapon wants to become a Dao weapon, it must first have a weapon spirit. This has almost become a consensus. Now, Fang Qingshan actually told the 2 of them that there were 2 weapon spirits here. Doesn't this mean that as long as you take out 2 peerless treasures and integrate them into the weapon spirits, you can immediately get 2 Dao weapons? Yes. Fang Qingshan nodded and pointed to the pearls in Fang Qingxue's and Fang Han's hands. What is sealed in Big Sister's hand is the Great Chaos Thunder Sword's weapon spirit. What is sealed in Fang Han's hand is the Deep Sea Pearl's weapon spirit. They are both high-grade Tao weapon spirits, one with thunder attribute and one with water attribute. I think it should be very suitable for you. What? The Great Chaos Thunder Swords weapon spirit? This is the Deep Sea Pearls weapon spirit? After listening to Fong Qingshan's words, the two were not relieved, but surprised and happy. As Fong Qingshan said, these two weapon spirits are too useful for them. Fong Qingxue has the inextinguishable lightning. If she integrates the Great Chaos Thunder Swords weapon spirit, it will be promoted to a peerless Tao weapon soon. Fong Han cultivates the Five Emperors' Great Demon magical ability, and the Deep Sea Pearls weapon spirit contains a strong water attribute law. Whether it is used to upgrade the Tao weapon or for cultivation, it is complementary. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.